This is our Audi versus Porsche comparison, a very interesting one honestly. So let's check out the Audi A7 versus the Porsche Panamera, here as RS7 versus Panamera GTS, then the Audi Q8 versus the Porsche Cayenne. We have the normal versions, but also the RSQ8 versus the Cayenne GTS, the sporty ones. And on the electric side, the Audi Q6 e-tron versus the Porsche Macan EV. Let's check out the individual pairs, and at the end of the review, you tell me which one would you pick and which one would I go for. Let's go!
One of the most desirable Audi models receives an upgrade. This is the Audi RS7 Performance. Some tweaks in design, under the hood more power, and also some trim and rework, suspension setup and so on. We'll tell you all about it with Thomas and Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go here with the really impressive front, already a little bit wider. This RS7 than the standard A7. Here LED and optional the Matrix LED with laser light function, even available in the US, although the high beam range is a little bit restricted then. This beautiful color is called Nardo Grey, a very popular Audi color indeed, and it fits very well to the RS7. But we also have a Ascari Blue matte vehicle for you here today. Just as a contrast, that also looks pretty impressive, doesn't it? Audi rings in the front, either the classic styling, or you can also get blacked out ones if you want a more sinister look. Turning indicators in the front, already with the cascading effect, and wow, look at this segmented view. That looks amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, come closer to see the 4-liter V8 bi-turbo. Really a beast of an engine, now at 630 horsepower, so 30 horsepower increase, and also at 850 Newton meters of torque. It's actually now a little bit quicker in the acceleration, soon more to that. Already visually looks quite impressive, doesn't it? 8-speed automatic converter gearbox. Around 5 meters or 197 inches in length, actually a little bit longer than a standard A7 because of the spoiler overhang. It starts with 21-inch wheels. These are the optional 22-inch wheels. These are the normal brakes, but they're already bigger in dimension. Option, you can also get the carbon ceramic. Also have it once again here with the matte Ascari Blue vehicle for you. And that one also has the matte gray mirror caps, but you can also go for this black package and have black mirror caps, or in carbon fiber, that would also be possible. The side profile already really beautiful here with the A7, or in this case the RS7. They've worked on the center differential of the quattro all-wheel drive. It's a standard classic quattro all-wheel drive, 40/60 standard distribution. And in most markets, the rear axis steering is already standard. They also worked on the suspension setup. You have two choices: air suspension, which is already a little bit lower, and also the DRC. Then you have 3 fixed settings for the suspension. Overall a stiffer ride. It's up to you which one you go for. Can we take 5 seconds and just enjoy the 3/4 rear perspective of this car together? Beautiful, isn't it? I love this view. It's my favorite one of the A7 in general. And here once again with the RS7, you can see the wider wheel arches, both front and the rear. It's also the same here, of course, for the performance model. This one is equipped with the optional sports exhaust. You can see when you have this black tip around, inside then a split, and here then the black contrast to the Nardo Grey color. The light strip goes all the way through, pretty cool. I like it, by the way, definitely with the bright Audi rings and not with the dark ones. Acceleration figure now at 3.4 seconds. Before it was 3.6 seconds to 1 kilometers an hour or 62 miles an hour. So a little bit quicker indeed. And the top speed is 280 kilometers an hour, or optional 305 kilometers an hour. That's 190 miles an hour with the optional dynamic package plus. Yeah, but even in Germany, hardly ever you will reach that speed. And turning indicators, cascading style, looks pretty fancy, doesn't it? RS badge on the key fob. Pretty cool, isn't it? I like that key fob really. And this is here one of the rare cases where we have frameless doors, this coupe style, but at the same time a cool door closing sound. And this is something that hardly anyone achieves. However, you can also use here the optional soft close function. Then inside of the doors with the RS7 Performance, we have a lot of microfiber use here from the Dynamica company. In this case, here. That's actually pretty cool. And I like it also how the clicking sounds are here at the inside window door levers. This is still the classic approach and not too much #capacitive BS. Then the interior, we have here the red RS design package. There's, for example, also a blue one available. You can pick it according to your liking, and I like especially this steering wheel here with the microfiber. Seats in Germany, for example, we could also get microfiber on the inside of the sport seats here. In the US, only the animal skin is available, sadly. These seats give good support. However, you could also basically downgrade to the comfort seat. Then you have a little bit more open space. That would also be possible. Then with 189 or 602, still a lot of headroom left. This one here, closed roof, and all the way also with a nice microfiber. This interior cockpit overview to me shows how you can combine the new world with the classic good user interface here. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, wireless or wired, touchscreen, lower part, touchscreen also for the AC. However, for a touch solution, relatively easy to control. And then manual volume jog right here. On the steering wheel also real buttons. So it is a mix, and that's fine with me. On the dashboard, a beautiful microfiber use. I really like it. However, as an alternative, you can also get this carbon fiber like mesh, blue contrast with the blue design package. Steering wheel with the microfiber, really best grip. And here with this dent on each side, actually a better grip than for the hand in this position. And these shifting pedals, really high class. And not to forget the small head-up display. Instruments can be classic like this, or RS performance gauges, or the RS runway. And then you have drag style. And important that you can always configure your RS button. And here RS1, RS2, you pick your individual settings, and they are then activated when you hit the hotkey. Here for RS1, then or for RS2, maybe make that one the sportiest or something. The infotainment system has these really large tiles, so easy to control actually. And I always deactivate the haptic feedback, so I can just click it like I do on the smartphone. And the other alternative would be that you really have to click and hammer it, but I like it in the easy, normal way. Microfiber on the rear shifting lever, cup holders next to it, just too much black piano lacquer, I think. Then here the microfiber armrest. This is properly fixed when you put it front and back. With the Cayenne recently in the EU version, we had a problem that it automatically goes forward. And then when we open it, more space, and now 2 USB-C chargers. Rear seating, yeah, we know there's not too much space considering the size of the vehicle. By the way, here, this is the way the window goes down in the rear maximum. Of course, we can put that high like that. And let me just take a seat. Behind the seat as I would be driving as a tall driver. It does fit with 4 tall adults, but that's about it actually. And also headroom, even though it doesn't look like it, I can also sit here in the rear. It works. What I love about the RS7 is that it has this fluent, beautiful form. At the same time, it is as versatile as an estate because you have this fastback opening, really wide, very well accessible, 115 in meters or 45 inches in the length, and you can have 1/3, 2/3 fold, but you can also just fold the middle part here, and you have a vast trunk area. And then there's this covering part of the trunk. You can release it here and then pull it. That way you could look through, or maybe when you want to transport something even bulkier. But overall I think it's a good idea to cover that one, that even when you close the whole fastback hatch, so you can see when this one goes down, goes here and then covers everything. And this counterpart you could also take out completely, like here. Whoa! The So this was the evil part, because you can secure it like this, but then it's not like really properly closed. The key is to really push it in there and then turn it around. Now it's properly safe. Launch control. Woo! Yeah, that was like 0 to 50 miles an hour. Easily done, so easy. And yeah, she had fun as well. You heard it. Wow, that is really like a lift off, like spaceship or like airplane or something. And the car suddenly feels so light, although it is actually a large and heavy vehicle. Wow, really impressed by that. And here, especially there, you also feel this effect of putting even a little bit more performance out of this model here with that special performance pack. 0.2 seconds quicker in the acceleration figure to 62 miles an hour or 100 kilometers an hour. Woo! Really amazing indeed. And the handling here also in the Benz is just amazing with that steering. Great grip on the Alcantara steering wheel. Yeah, in that really stiff mode of the air suspension, you do feel some feedback from the road. But of course, you can go to the comfort mode at any time. First comment, air suspension versus the DRC. You can pick both. DRC is a fixed suspension that can be set to 3 different stiffness modes. It does not work like a DCC that it rules between these modes and has a span, but there are 3 different presets. And you have an even stiffer, sportier feeling with the air suspension. Definitely would recommend you to go for that one because the air suspension gives you more flexibility, and when you go to the comfort mode, it gives you the everyday cruiser and you have a lot of comfort, although you have this rocket right there, accessible at any time. And that was 50 miles per hour. Pretty quick. Really good from that all-wheel drive. You have standard 40-60% distribution, and when you really hammer it through, you can also get even more, up to 85% in the rear, up to 70% actually in the front when you have rear traction loss. And yeah, you've maybe seen the reaction of the passenger. Sorry for that, because there was another speed limit coming up, and then I really had to hit the brakes, and these are not the carbon ceramic brakes we have here, but of course they are bigger than normal ones you have on a normal passenger car, and they are really hammering all the way in. So, but you have a good feeling for that, you know, and that's also what I actually prefer in a way if you compare it to the carbon ceramic brakes, because on the racetrack, of course, they are always better. But in normal driving life, I prefer the non-carbon ceramic brakes, because these ones here, they react a little bit quicker and they just give you, to me, a finer feeling. So both, of course, will be fine and both will deliver great braking performance, no doubt about that. Here in the S shifting mode, gears are turned up, higher from the RPM. You shift down earlier. Dynamic driving mode, we have the air suspension here. That means it's going a little bit stiffer, but still not uncomfortable at all. But they have also worked on the suspension setups and make this span a little bit wider. So, for example, when we go to the comfort mode, everything relaxes a little bit more and the suspension is a little bit softer. So, although this is an RS model, it can be an everyday cruiser. That's also the thing about Audi RS models. If you compare it, for example, to the 63 AMG models with Mercedes and the true BMW M models, the Audi RS models are always a little bit more comfortable than their BMW and Mercedes counterparts. And that's maybe something you seek, or maybe something you don't seek, but I feel these cars are all being driven every day, and it should be also a primary driver, especially in this configuration here. And I think then that is actually a good choice. I really like the steering input. That is awesome. So you see here, I don't have to do much work on the steering wheel. I still have enough of resistance. This is the classic stuff I really appreciate from the vehicle. A real good driver-focused interface from the steering, shifting pedals. I can also always use manually here, no problem. Wow, yeah, wonderful feedback from that engine. They've increased the torque in this 0.2 seconds quicker, also in the acceleration. Do you feel that? Yeah, maybe a little bit. It's not a reason to buy this one here now if you already have an RS7. That's not the case. But still, it delivers a little bit more little bit more crispy, sporty focus here. So they've done a lot of setup work here and definitely think it pays off. But to me, the best thing is still that it combines basically racing and sportiness. And this nice steering here, you can use it for both. You see, it is really precise. It always does what you want to do. And although this is a large and kind of heavy vehicle, it always invites you to do some more slalom driving. And yeah, that just feels beautiful. Very noticeable, by the way, how you note, how you hear, how you perceive the engine. So what they've done here is saving 8 kilograms, or around 16 pounds of weight, by giving away the insulation to the engine. That means you hear the engine more in this vehicle. In the comfort mode, it's relatively silent. But as soon as you go to the dynamic mode, for example, then for example also shift down. Wow, it almost feels the car would be lifting off the road like a spaceship. And even more so, of course, in the RS driving modes where you can put it even sportier. And you just hear so much more from that engine. So it is, yeah, you lose a little bit of noise insulation comfort, but you buy an RS model actually to achieve that. So to hear more from that engine. That's also something they've done here with this new performance model iteration. Here the drag strip mode is also available in the RS driving mode, and wow, there's such an instant reaction when you hit the throttle. Great. And at the same time, when you go back to the comfort mode, you go from beast to everyday comfortable cruiser. That's the cool thing. So the overall handling and feeling of this car is superb. You feel that it is a very evolved vehicle. It is due to the end of its life cycle very soon, yes. But sometimes this is exactly a reason to go for the vehicle, to get it when it's really finally developed. One more acceleration in the RS mode. Whew, that was a little bit of preloading. Whew, that is defo liftoff. Is this here the ultimate German Autobahn machine? We're going to find out with the updated Porsche Panamera GTS. GTS at Porsche always stands for a very sporty model inside the model portfolio, not in the sense of quickest in the acceleration figure or highest horsepower, but really sportiest from this pure driving feeling. We're going to find out if that's still true here with the new Panamera in the GTS spec. I'm Thomas, this is Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go. Carmine red is the color for today, very fitting always to the GTS lineup. And this Panamera update has a more horizontal focus in the design. There has been a discussion of, is it all new, is it new, is it facelift? There have been hardware changes indeed, both exterior and also on the interior, but let's say the raw chassis remained the same, and we can go through some of the updates. For example, also the lights, matrix LED or optional HD matrix LED. It's even an option here for the GTS. You can see it right here, and you can see that the hood is a little bit differently pronounced now in this iteration or this update. The length at 5 meters and 5 or 199 inches. 19 to 21 inch wheels for the Panamera. The 21 inch wheels are standard here already for the GTS. In this case then here with the black trim, but yeah, of course you could also pick a Panamera without black wheels depending on how you like it. For the GTS it's always been this scheme that you have a lot of red and black accentuations. That is what the GTS is basically made of, so to speak. You can also get the rear axis steering. It's also equipped with this very vehicle. It's also an option even for the GTS. So the rear wheels then turn in the opposite direction than the front wheels for a more narrow turning circle. Adaptive air suspension is standard for all the Panamera models, and here in the GTS it's 10 millimeters lower and has a stiffer, sportier setup. The light strip goes all the way through, left to right. By the way, if sometimes on the camera it looks a little bit segmented, that's just on the camera it really goes like really smoothly all the way through. And you might have already discovered it if you know the other Panamera models. Recently we had the V6 plug-in hybrid, and that one has the smaller retractable wing that goes up like this. This one here already has this massive wing which is split from the turbo, and this one then goes also a little bit outside And inside again, this is a very spectacular thing. And also standard for the GTS is the sports exhaust. And there you can see, this is the real deal. 1, 2, 3, 4 real exhaust tips. No Autogefühl fake exhaust police needed right here. And of course, one of the most important aspects here about the GTS is the engine. And for the normal Panamera, you have a 6-cylinder V6. That one is also available with a plug-in hybrid drivetrain. And here we have the 4-liter V8 bi-turbo, in this case with 500 horsepower. In the turbo it would also then be the plug-in hybrid, but here this one is the pure 4-liter V8. So no hybridization then here. 500 horsepower and 3.8 seconds is the acceleration figure in the EU, or 3.6 seconds for the miles per hour figure. And here you can also see this black dome strut here for a little bit more stabilization than for the chassis in the very front. So hydraulic struts here, of course. And I'm really already looking forward to drive this one very soon, but let's take a look at the interior. This is a typical nice Porsche key fob. Then door closing. Either you have here the option of soft close, but also if you hammer the door, sounds really nice. Both front and the rear. Then inside of the doors, GTS means a lot of microfiber or race text as they call it at Porsche. Red contrast stitches right here. Also here some covers, the inside of the doors and so on. Then a huge Panamera GTS entry badge with carbon fiber. That looks cool. Then the race text steering wheel and real buttons also at the steering wheel. That's nice to have, even here for the voice control, and of course to switch the driving modes easily. And also race text seats. They now use this pattern here. It feels differently, looks differently a little bit. Some say it's small Mercedes does. There is also this Papita fabric seat available if you would like to get that one. This is also the completely animal-free interior. This one is not completely animal-free, however majorly covered with race text. And they are, let's say, the second most comfortable, the fabric seats. Yeah, you can argue about this retro pattern from the looks, but it's more comfortable actually to sit on. And I would like to know from you, if you are from the Northern American market, have a base Panamera with the leatherette seat. I haven't seen one, couldn't test one. If you have tested it, seen it, own it yourself, please give me a feedback about the quality. Would be really looking forward to that. It is a racy seating position, definitely. It's maybe not the most comfortable vehicle overall. As I said, with the fabric seat I had more comfort, but it definitely tells you it's still a sports car, although it's a luxury sedan. That's what the Panamera is about. And 1.89 meters, 6'2". Still some headroom left here. Cockpit overview, now more digitalized. Screens. 1, 2, 3. Even here, and if you have this straight angle, then you also see something from a passenger screen. That's an option though, and yeah, for me it's not really necessary. Is it for you? Tell me in the comments. Everything with a horizontal stress, red contour stitching here in the GTS. It's an interesting integration here of the glove box, isn't it? Huge middle console. And this is here something to criticize because we have a lot of high gloss black, what no one asked for actually, and you already see a lot of like scratches are already visible here in this black area. So this is not this super premium atmosphere, and also this opening mechanism is not my favorite one. Now cooled smartphone inductive charger, 2 USB-C chargers as well, adaptive cup holders. There's a nice wide middle console here for the armrest. Some more space underneath for storing some stuff, and pretty cool, one of my favorite features, still an analog interface here with the volume control. Also here the climate unit and so on. That's easy to control then, and also it feels nice. You get a nice sound feedback. I really love that. That's pretty cool. And also the steering wheel has just the right size. Then shifting pedals to have that sportier interface. That's pretty cool. Driver POV. Here my favorite is that we can really switch through the drive modes from the steering wheel directly. So that's a really easiest thing to do while driving. You can switch through different views right here, whatever you want to have. And the head-up display is actually also adjustable, even like some RPM view in there. It's visible all the time, by the way, for your real eyes. Not to forget the stopwatch, the top part, sports chrono pack, and the infotainment system. Here's the most interesting part, vehicle concerned, because here you can also, for example, extend the rear spoiler and so on. Other than that, you would rather go here for the Apple CarPlay or Android Auto integration, wired or wireless. I have to say though that the infotainment system itself, it has also this nice overview here, but it's really not the quickest one. So it should be quicker, should be faster for such a more expensive vehicle. Rear seats, looks like nice quality here also from door handle, microfiber cover, also with the red contrast stitches. Then we also have the microfiber seats here with this special new pattern on the rear seats. And to fold them, by the way, here you have to grab at the head restraint and then you can fold them down actually. But here you can see that it hardly fits when you normally sit in the front, so you always have to operate with the front seats and back again, because these head restraints here, they are like sport seats in the front with the integrated head restraint actually. You can fold down this here, it's like some space under the armrest. And interesting also in this lower part, you can fold out cup holders like that. Then two USB-C chargers here, and seat heating with capacitive control. Yeah, capacitive BS. You can also control this shade here, this split shade just for the rear from this lower console in the rear. So this is the rear command. There's also one in the front. This one cannot be opened, just the front part. And then what space do we have? So it works for 4 tall adults. There's also, here, there we go. So some legroom left. It's of course not much considering the length of the vehicle, I have to say that. And also here with 189, 602, does fit with the headroom barely, but just still works. It's not the best user of space, not the most executive luxury sedan rear seating position. That's not like the main purpose of this vehicle, it's more the driver focus, but it works space-wise. You could also get one with a through bench, by the way. Trunk or boot at 480 liters if you have a subwoofer, which is also the case right here. And then it's still quite flexible, this wide entry. Then you have a large step. This just, you know, really not that wide here. Maybe it's like 90 centimeters or 35 inches, but then wider here in this area. And the normal length of the trunk is about 1.05 meters or 42 inches. So it's still well usable, definitely. Here underneath there's also even more space. Look at that. And then here there's a 1/3, 2/3 split. So to fold that, however, you have to go around. So I already did that 1/2. And I have to go around here. And then to fold it actually is a little bit complicated, because then you have to put the front seat all the way forward, fold it and back again, so there's not so much space then. Total length, however, 180 or 70 inches. And this top part here, this is also something you can remove like this. Well, then theoretically, when you have long arms, you could also reach over them to fold that thing. And I have to issue a warning, a safety warning indeed, because you should deactivate the feature of the foot kick mechanism to open or close the trunk lid right here, because it happened to me like 5 or 6 times now, not only me, also to others, that when you stand here, and sometimes when you reach something, you have to lean over quite a lot, and then you stand here, and it happens quite often that then the sensor here gets like something, and then you stand here and the lid closes on your head. So yeah, at the moment it's not happened, but as I said, it happened to me like 5 times already, and yeah, the hatch here already killed myself. So I mean, it does have this safety mechanism though, so that is okay, but still, when your head is between that, it's not a pleasant experience. So I would actually deactivate that feature then in the front infotainment. So before we drive it right now, one more thing about the suspension. Adaptive air suspension standard, yes, and a little bit stiffer setup with the GTS, yes. However, you might have also heard from the other reviews about the Porsche Active Ride, the 8,000 euros or dollars extra system with hydraulic individual ruling of the wheels. This is only available if you have a plug-in hybrid model, because you know you need high voltage for that to operate that. So it's not available here for the pure 4-liter V8 biturbo in the GTS. But the question is, since we had other Porsche Panameras with that new system, do you need that? Is it good? Is it maybe worse? How will it react in the driving? So we'll drive it, and then later on I'll tell you what I think about when we don't have that system. Oh, even slightly uphill. They have to be underestimating this, or like let's say in this case overestimating this acceleration figure, because when it says like acceleration is at 3.8 seconds or 3.6 seconds for the 60 miles per hour figure, that must definitely be quicker, must be quicker. And wow, so that was this raw power from this 4-liter V8, 500 horsepower here in the GTS version. And I mean, here it's not mixed with the plug-in hybrid drivetrain. We've been driving the plug-in hybrid before. And I mean, when you're on the motorway, you don't really feel that weight difference. And when the battery is full, the plug-in hybrid drivetrains also give you great performance. The biggest difference is here, you always have the same performance, so it doesn't depend on the battery level. And when you are in tighter corners sometimes or something like that, then also it's of course better when you have less weight. But on the motorway, it doesn't have the biggest effect. But the great thing here is, of course, it is such an Autobahn driving machine. So here in the Sport or Sport Plus mode, chassis is being lowered a little bit even more. The leather suspension is getting stiffer and giving me more contact to that road. Yeah, and it feels so connected to the road, even though it's slightly wet here today. I mean, this tarmac here is kind of rough, so it sounds really loud, but at the same time it's better than for like this rain performance. I have to say, like from the noise insulation, yes, I said it's a rough tarmac, but it's not the most quiet vehicle. Also, the GTS versions are usually more with this, weight reduction and so on. So they have some less dampening measures, for example. Yeah, but still, I mean, wow. I mean, you always have the power available, and the steering is really, really great. You have fine reactions to the steering, no dead zone area. And also when you do some lane changes, for example here, it's a heavy and big vehicle, but you don't really feel that. So essentially it feels like a 911 here on the Autobahn. Of course, a 911 you will feel the difference then when you get to a tighter race track or something like that, but wow, that's really awesome. Such an Autobahn driving machine. And I have to say, although they have large wheels mounted and the air suspension is tuned on a stiffer note, it's not uncomfortable from a suspension. And that can easily happen, of course, that the suspension just gets really, really uncomfortable. But here it's actually really fine. And yes, the only thing I really have to say, the noise level is quite high. But other than that, you don't really feel the speed. So from the feeling that car gives you, how calm it is on the road. So at the moment here, you see we're driving 170 kilometers an hour. So like, I don't know, like 100 miles per hour. And oh, there's also Porsche-owned Cayenne plug-in hybrid. Probably a test vehicle as well. Wow. I mean, it really feels like nothing. I feel like I'm driving like 100 kilometers, 60 miles per hour, something like that. And that's it, you know. But it doesn't feel like I would be driving really quickly or something like that, you know. So, and even if you are already at speed, like here at 160, and then you push it through, it's just keep on coming and coming and coming and coming. There we go. 200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour, and it feels literally like nothing. Also, wow, the braking performance. So here, of course, the most important things when you drive these high speeds, always keep a lot of distance to the cars in front of you and always watch it really carefully. But these brakes are performing extremely well. I also have a very fine feeling for it. And it does not lean at all here when I'm switching the lanes. There we go. It does not shake like one bit. So this really gives you a very safe feeling and can just underpin it once again. Here, when the Autobahn driving behavior, there is no sedan at that size that would be capable of doing that and giving you that special feeling. yeah, the Panamera is seriously a driving machine, and this is also once again the reason for that the Panamera is probably, yeah, it's actually my favorite Porsche overall. From the last Panamera we've been driving, that one had the Papita fabric seats. I have to say these are the most comfortable ones indeed. These here are number 2. These are the microfiber seats then, here in the GTS, typical microfiber spec. I think the Papita fabric seat has a little bit more like dampening cushion, Einsitzhöhe, like the first depth of the seating area. And then they would come here because the microfiber seat is like a little bit stiffer maybe, like that, slight difference. But still, they are also still more comfortable than all the other animal skin choices. Here, once again, really finely tuned that steering wheel. So you see, I have to, you know, just like small commands, and I love that you don't have to overdo things, and the car always does exactly what I expect from the car. That's the main thing. Let's also go here to the normal driving mode and see. Yeah, no, the suspension is a little bit more forgiving. But I have to say, even though I was in the Sport Plus mode, it didn't feel too bad actually. So suspension-wise is really good. Of course, wheel-wise, you can always tune it a little bit depending on which wheel size you go for, if you want more comfort or more sportiness. And even here in the normal mode, when I hit the throttle, there we go. So we still have that great acceleration. So you don't necessarily need to drive in the Sport or Sport Plus mode. It gives you more performance, yes, but the normal mode will also do just fine. And we are just cutting our way through the Autobahn here in a very flawless way. Wow, what a control over that vehicle. Also great to have once again the microfiber steering wheel. I love that. Great grip, no sweaty fingers or something like that. And to me, also as for durability, I personally have just good experience with it. So I would always take that one here, just for the pure feeling of it. It feels nice both in summer and winter actually. Yeah, this is definitely the Autobahn machine. And some city driving. A little bit calmer, a little bit slower. Then just when you slightly accelerate, you have this growling sound then still from the V8, even in the normal mode a little bit. Not when you're rolling necessarily, of course, but the normal mode actually does very well also in the normal driving experience. And the suspension is always sporty enough, definitely. We have the 21-inch wheels mounted here as standard for the GTS, as we've shown you on the exterior. Here, always such a nice feeling in every roundabout, especially getting out. Perfect tune from the steering, and then nicely with low RPM out of the corner. That's what I also appreciate if you have like the high displacement and so on, that you don't always need to access all the power and just can do it really, really, really calmly. Also on the motorway, I did some tests of the assistance systems, and they are really nicely refined. The lane keeping assist is not a very intrusive one, I have to say, so it's rather drawn a little bit back. I think it's also the right decision for this vehicle, so it doesn't annoy you too much. Here on the countryside, it does not really work. Countryside road, you have to do it actually on the Autobahn. And the blind spot monitor integration is also pretty cool in the side mirror, so definitely always something you should have. So it is also a relaxing ride in the city, in the normal definitely, yeah, and at the same time, of course, you can always open Hell's Gate. So base Panamera started about 100,000 euros or dollars. Then if you go for the GTS version, here in Germany, 165,000 euros, US 154,000 euros. Yeah, that's already quite hefty. And then when you spec it, as it stands here right now, this one is at 187,000 euros. So yeah, that GTS version here with the foliar is really, really price intensive. And I have to say, this is indeed an ultimate Autobahn driving machine. And one of the questions initially was also, how about this missing Porsche Active Ride, this 8,000 euros extra suspension system? You do not need it at all. I feel the car feels more natural and better to drive without it, so I think you can save the money. It wouldn't be available for this one here anyway, as I said. Yeah, but just for the plug-in hybrid ones, but I think it's not really necessary. It's a very impressive technology, but the air suspension is just fine as it is here right now, so I would say go for the adaptive air suspension, which is standard, and that's it. That's fine. What do you think about the Panamera GTS? Tell me in the comments. Let's take a look at the updated Audi Q8, because recently Mercedes GLE and BMW X5 have been updated. Can Audi say something about this? What have they done? Let's take a look with Thomas and Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go. Here with an upgraded front grille. When you have the S-Line, you have these L forms here in the front grille. Everything with more black design, especially if you have the optional black package, which this vehicle is also equipped with. The standard front grille would have more vertical fins on the inside. Then here the two-dimensional Audi rings. Audi goes for this new CI, corporate identity, basically. Saphir Gold is this new color also. Saphir, this desert around the Bahrain racetrack. And yeah, this was the most fitting shirt I could find for you today. Updated headlamps also. So the logic here is normal LED, then matrix LED, and optional HD matrix LED with laser lights. And the latter ones you all can see here. And even in the front, you can already pick different light designs to individualize your vehicle. Towards the side profile, here the length has been unchanged, 4.99 meters or 196 inches. The Q8, as I said, typical competitor of the X5 or the GLE. Wheels now start already at 20 inch, up to 23 inch. These here are 22 inch wheels, so not the biggest ones, not the smallest one. Let's see how the riding comfort is. In the S-Line here also painted wheel arches. So in the vehicle color, the base version would come still with the contrasting wheel arches. In the black pack, you also have the black mirrors here. Technology-wise, already the standard suspension is an adaptive suspension, so an adaptive steel suspension. Optional, also this vehicle is equipped with it, the adaptive air suspension. Of course, then you have a wider span between comfort and sportiness. And you also get a rear axle steering. Then the rear wheels you turn up to 5 degrees in the opposite direction than the front wheels. The RS8 would also offer an anti-tilt control and a sports differential at the rear. New tail lamp design and also OLEDs here in this lower part. Have you seen that? These are the proximity sensors. In our studio shots where it was a little bit darker, you can even better see that, how it reacts. And even then in the rear, you can once again pick the individual light signature as design. I think it's a cool idea. Yeah, but then again, it's always an option, so the base vehicle won't have that. But the base vehicles will have this top update here also, and also this, this light strip that goes all the way across. Once again, two-dimensional Audi rings. And then in the lower part, the contrast, the Q8 logo here. This one means that is the S-Line, and the RS8 would just have the added S-dent. So what do you think? Do you like the outgoing model better, or do you like this refresh? And who would have thought that lights one day become a buying or purchase argument for individual brands? Audi wants to stress like, hey, we are the king of lighting, and that's why they also play once again here with these cascading turning indicators, at least in the highest trims. And even fancier it is actually here in the front. Look at that, with this segmented cascading, and a massive success for the Autogefühl Fake Exhaust Police. Thank you so much in the name of the Autogefühl Fake Exhaust Police for supporting it for all these years, because now Audi have switched away from fake exhaust to real exhaust tips once again. Since you also always ask about our locations where we film today, we are really lucky to film outside of Cape Town, so best greetings especially to our South African viewers today. And behind me is so-called Camps Bay. I think this beautiful beach here, so yeah, very fitting to our vehicle color today also. This is the car key here, slim and light, we know that. And look at here, the B-pillar. They have the model naming here now, not to have too many badges on the exterior, so the days of over-badging on the exterior is obviously gone. Then frameless doors with dual installation. Oh. There we go, door closing sound. So you see here, it needs more push actually because of the good installation here. And then it sounds really awesome. That's really rare that a frameless door sounds great. Inside of the door here with microfiber inserts, and I like this galvanization tip here for the window levers, and even they have a clicking sound here when you open or close them. Yeah, these deals I really love. S-Line badge you can already see then in the lower parts. We also have S-Line interior as well as on the steering wheel, perforation at the side. And these seats here are the best ones you can get actually for the Q8 with the microfiber, also with this special structure on the inside. These are the normal sport seats. and I would definitely go for them. But they're still lagging behind, especially in comparison to BMW, who is offering better materials. They're more sustainable, more animal friendly, and also better in the whole feeling and so on. But these ones are actually then the best. And seating comfort here with 189 or 6'2". A lot of headroom left. This is the one without panoramic roof. You can also get one. And you have good ergonomics, full-size SUV position. Yeah, really feeling it, definitely. Interior cockpit overview. The refreshing thing about this update is that it is not all new, because classic user interface here with the volume control, the steering wheel, then also physical controls to control the digital instruments. There we have some news. For example, when I hit the turning indicator, we have this nicer visualization on the inside now. And then we have this split screen. This is the top infotainment screen, and the lower part is for the climate unit. Yes, I do always prefer physical climate dials, but for a digital solution here, it is fairly easy to use. I don't quite get this new menu tile in the software. This looks to me confusing. This here is very obvious, and then you have just, for example, the car features, or you go back to the home menu, and here the Apple CarPlay integration, wired or wireless. And the same goes for Android Auto. An optional Bang & Olufsen sound system. Yeah, I think good sound quality. Not the most super spectacular ever, but actually very decent. In the middle console, I really like this large shifting lever, pretty cool. Then here, adaptive cup holders, very good build quality. And also here, the middle console with this cover, leather red, and then you fold it up and down like this. And here, you have space then for the smartphone connection, now all in USB-C. Well, I did find an issue here with the middle console. Look at that, this large thing here underneath. It is there that it has this, this effect that you can also fold this whole thing up and down a little bit and slide it forward at the same time. But the problem is, it's so large down there. When you have your smartphone here in the inductive charging pad, it does overheat because it has no cooling. Then you say, I want to connect it with the cable, and then you connect it like this, for example. And then you have to say, like, okay, where is the exact space for my smartphone? Like this, maybe. And then how does it fit when it's a modern, large smartphone? And when you then would put it down, you would smash your smartphone, or then stuff like this happens. Yeah.
No, I'm not farting. It's that the seat is just too close to the middle console and it's squeaking. So either put it far away or add some fabric here on the outside.
Rear doors also frameless, and then you have this electric shade you can put up and down just by pressing the window lever one more time. This doesn't go down further, but here I think it's a very nice and elegant solution. When I sit behind the driver's seat when I'm driving, I still have enough legroom left. This platform is pretty cool, and then you can adjust the seating angle like here when you pull this lever. This is also the way you fold it completely down for the trunk, and you can also vary the trunk length like this if you want more trunk length, or here if you want most legroom. Even in the middle part you can sit very well. In comparison to the Q7, it's not too big of a compromise. Of course, the Q7 has a little bit more trunk space and so on. And then possible 7-seater. And here in the middle part, you have a nice climate unit also for the rear. It is somewhat with capacitive BS, but then again, you also have at least some clicking sounds. Let's take a look at the trunk measurements, electric hatch, and then we have a good meter or 40 inches in width, and even a little bit more than a meter or 40 inches in length. Here, you can see I already folded one part. You can also split individually, but you have to do it from the rear. You cannot unfold them here. The only thing you can do is actually lower it for better loading in and out when you have the air suspension. And in the front part here, you have another small hole, for example, but yeah, you could also have a replacement tire there if you like. As for engines, in Europe you still get the 3-liter V6 diesel. This one here, worldwide the most important engine, the 3-liter V6 turbo petrol engine, 55 TFSI, 340 horsepower, 5.6 seconds is the acceleration figure. Standard quattro overdrive, that means an overdrive with a rear wheel bias. If you want it even quicker, then there would be the SQ8 with 4.1 seconds in the acceleration figure. From the acceleration figure, and that is then from this 4-liter V8. Acceleration. Plop, that was 0 to 80 kilometers an hour. Pretty quick, felt nice, also rear wheel biased. acceleration from the overdrive. The Lia meter was also active. Thank you for that. That's always really good to give you a sense of speed, especially if you do not feel the G-forces over the video. So here in the dynamic mode, the air suspension is also set a little bit stiffer and have more feedback from the road. And here when the road is very even, that's pretty cool. And we have beautiful roads here with a nice view. The thing is, when the air suspension is stiff here, in dynamic mode, and you have the 22-inch wheels mounted, yes, it feels cool and sporty. However, it is then also not the most comfortable experience when you're driving over some bumps. So that always depends then on the road condition. As I said, here is absolutely fine, when it's not destroyed or something. But I feel this setup here, and especially with the bigger wheels, you do lose comfort. So you have to be aware of that. So that is definitely an SUV that does have this sporty focus here. Really nice reaction from the steering wheel here. No dead zone, whatever. So I have a very fine feeling for the car. I like that. So it feels very, very well balanced. The rear axle steering helps me when we're driving slower speeds and so on, and also not feeling artificial at all. Very good here also when I'm doing some slalom left and right. Once again, the balance and the feeling for the car, that is what is very, very good. And assistance systems here on this countryside road, which is even more crucial, because can this vehicle here keep the lane even if it's more in this bend? Here so far, pretty smooth. Now on the right side, I always keep the control of the vehicle. See here, this one car didn't get. Maybe it's also because one line is yellow, one line is white or something. So yeah, never trust 100% in it. And mainly it's used for Autobahn purposes. But I like to try it also here on countryside lanes because the very, very good systems also do that then in this case here. It is a good system, yes, but you see at some point it also has its limits. When you, by the way, want to switch back again here, for example, you can click in the lower part, not the best selection here to pick the driving modes, or then here like this, click on the screen, yeah. Then here you can go to the comfort mode. In the comfort mode then, some more softness from the suspension then, and also the steering becomes a little bit lighter overall. So this is probably the everyday setting, I would say. It still feels sporty, and I would definitely set the suspension to comfort because otherwise it just gets too rough in bumpy sections and so on. So to me the cool thing is always that although it's a large and heavy SUV, because of the great balance, it always feels somewhat lighter and easier to control basically. Here we know at the really slow speeds I feel more from the rear axle steering, but considering it is in rear axle steering, it feels very natural how it reacts and so on. So I've always loved the driving feeling of the Q8, and the updated version here makes no difference to that actually. Yeah, for me it's always pretty strange, of course, here with the left-hand drive traffic, and in a way even stranger to drive left-hand steering wheel with left-hand traffic. Usually you have the other one, like the right-hand steering with the left-hand traffic and vice versa and so on. But I mean, yeah, after all, you get used to that. It's all adding up to the experience. Changing the temperature, by the way, here while driving is not too bad. So as I said earlier, although it's digital, you can do it actually quite well also while driving. Although physical control always needs no looking at all. Brake feeling also really nice, so you know exactly what you're doing at any time, or when you want to control the volume and so on. I like this classic user interface of the vehicle. You can also use the shifting pedals here to shift down yourself, for example for engine brake when you're going down for a longer period of time, or if you want some more RPM, and then you can directly accelerate it out. Yeah, sound-wise I have to say, rather step downwards, but with these new days particle filters, which are also great to keep the particles in, sound has been decreased. Again, for the US versions this will then be a little bit different. So if I could suggest something, I think although it has air suspension, sometimes in potholes too rough. So what can you do against it? I mean, even if you're in a comfort mode here, the only thing you could actually do is pick smaller wheels. Not even the biggest one on this one here, but I think 20 or 21 inch. 21 inches maybe then the best compromise, that you have some cool looks still, but you just have a little bit more driving comfort. So my driving impressions here from Chapman's Peak Drive. If you're in the Cape Town area at some point, you should take this road, one of the most beautiful roads in the world, definitely. And here it's more about enjoying the scenic views, and the view outside the vehicle, from the inside to the outside, is actually pretty decent. So I have a good feeling of where the car is ending at every side, and that's not the same with all new vehicles, that you exactly have a feeling for the dimensions. But even if you look to the rear there and so on, or to the back mirror, there's no problem at all. And that also shows that the Q8, among this like almost SUV coupe segment, the X6 would of course also be a competitor, or the GLE coupe. The Q8 sits somewhat in between, I would say, but these true coupe silhouette SUVs, they have less overview than when you're sitting on the inside, but that's actually fine here with the Q8. Here also, when the vents are a little bit tighter, rear axle steering is helping me. Is also, by the way, a factor for parking in and out. Maybe you've heard that, just like there was a bump in the road. That's what I meant. You know, when I have an air suspension, I just want a little bit more comfort out of the vehicle. Yeah, but that's the only thing I can really criticize here. Yeah, and probably also the fuel economy. So we will drive it a longer period of time. But it really seems to be that, although it's mild hybrid system here now for the 6 cylinders, the 8 cylinder does not have that. And although it's not like the most fuel consuming engine of all time, and I know this engine for a very long time, but here obviously also when the AC has to work a lot, the consumption seems to go quite high, and we'll put it in the video description and in the comment below, in the pinned comment, and then tell you more about that. By the way, instead of choosing the driving modes, which sometimes can be complicated, you can just always pull the shifting lever here to the S shifting mode, and then you have a nicer acceleration immediately. That's actually pretty cool, and it's also an easy and quick way to be a little bit more spontaneous with it, and always pull it back. Also the sound feedback it gives you, right? And of course also clicking sounds and so on. Yeah, that brings me back to one of the crucial points, that the user interface is still really good, and you know exactly always what you are doing. A full driving review of the new Porsche Cayenne. Is it all new, an all new generation? Is it an excellent facelift? Something in between? We'll find out with Thomas and Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go here with the new front design. And indeed, they changed the whole front hood. These parts here, more horizontal stress in the design, and new HD matrix headlamps. They're also mounted here, of course, an option. And you have these daytime running light design in the top part, but another one here in the lower part. But here, you can see, this is not just the upper one, the lower one is fixed. And this new blue color, also new now, called Montego Blue. It's pretty fancy and has this greenish nuance. Turning indicators in the front, pretty cool here in the lower part where it replaces the daytime running light. The length 4 meters 92 or 194 inches. This has remained the same. However, wheels now start at 20 inch and up to 22 inch wheels. Here, the biggest ones available. We see it here on display. Then here, vehicle color also at the wheel arch, and this lower part you can either get in the black contrast but also in vehicle color if you prefer that. Rear axle steering is optionally available. Then the rear wheels turn in the opposite direction than the front wheels, and suspension wise they have reworked both suspensions, the base suspension and also the optional air suspension, giving you more comfort and sportiness at the same time. Is that true? We'll find out soon in driving. In the rear, new styling element that the light strip goes all the way across. That's beautiful. And also the 3-dimensional Porsche lettering. That's pretty cool. And you might have seen that here, the lower area, the number plate is now here in the lower part, also in the SUV. So this is now very similar to the coupe version of the Cayenne. Both are of course still available. And now the rear looks, more or less alike. Here you can see with these black tips, these are the optional sports exhaust for that 6-cylinder. Turning indicators in the rear around the 3-dimensional light strip. Let's now compare the Cayenne S and the Cayenne Coupe. We can see here This second horizontal element is missing at this vehicle. That's why it has the sport design package. Then you have this wider hole here. And indeed, it looks like something would be missing here, so I prefer the base version look there. This unique color here, by the way, is called Geyser Gray, but I think it neither has to do something with Geyser nor with gray. What's your take on that? This very vehicle is also equipped with the optional lightweight sports package. And that means you have these special 22-inch wheels, and even optional on top the PCCB, the Porsche ceramic composite brake, and you can now also get them, for example, with black brake calipers. Before it was only the yellow ones, but that way it also works. Looks pretty fancy indeed. Here, by the way, you can see these are the wheel arches that are not in vehicle color, so you can then pick the styling you want. This is an optional sticker you get here with some kind of retro look, and said we have the coupe here, and that has this falling roof line right here, stronger shoulder formation. And when you look above, another part of this lightweight sports package is the carbon fiber roof. Yeah, that brings the center of gravity a little bit lower, but does that really matter in driving? Not really. And in the rear you can see that the lower graphic, SUV and coupe are kind of similar now. Just this upper part there, you can see, of course, this flatter window right here. And the Cayenne S is now once again a V8. You can see it also here in the different exhaust pipes. I would say let's do a sound comparison, V6 versus V8. So which one did you like better, the 3-liter V6 or here the 4-liter V8? Tell me in the comments. If you wonder, by the way, hey, wait a minute, the 6-cylinder sounded better. Might be a reason because the 6-cylinder has the sport exhaust, and this one here is the base exhaust for the V8. Engine lineup, all have received more power. The main engine, the 3-liter V6 for the base Cayenne, now with around 350 horsepower, 6 or 5.7 seconds. Then with the sports chrono package is the acceleration figure to 1 kilometers an hour or 62 miles an hour. A second quicker is the Cayenne S, which now again receives the V8 with around 470 horsepower. Based on that, even more 660 horsepower for the Cayenne Turbo GT, the strongest pure combustion engine model. Hybrids, either based on this one, the normal Cayenne hybrid, or then also future, even stronger hybrids. They are coming up very soon. We'll keep you updated. And should you wonder, what about the GTS? Yes, also coming up again. You'll see a review on Autogefühl in 2024. This is the key fob, yeah, always with this 911 silhouette, really beautiful. This is here for the independent heating, if you have that option. Then door closing sound. Really solid, I love that. And of course you can also get a soft close when you want to go for that option. Then inside of the doors, also once again with the horizontal stress, really good build quality indeed. Then for the interior you can get different stylings. Here for example we have a bright styling. This all animal skin. Alternatives would be Racetex microfiber on the inside or a Sportex in the special sports lightweight package, a fabric then with this retro look. So you have some possibilities, but not too much. So they didn't change anything there with the facelift. That is to me one of two disappointing things. The second disappointing thing will come very soon. Headroom here, no problem at all, although this is the one with the panoramic roof, so with 189 and 602, no problem. It's a very good and upright seating position. Ergonomics also nice. GT steering wheel here, and soon I'm going to show you the all-new cockpit. Here you can adjust it electronically. New interior layout, straight focus still, that's what I like, really clean. And then Taycan instruments, and here the 911 steering wheel, in this case the GT steering wheel. You can see it here with the screws. So a mix of Taycan and 911 now in the interior, and you have the central screen updated and optional also a passenger screen. And in front of these two Dachshunds, which is German Dackel by the way, listen and repeat, Dackel, we show you the head-up display, which you can also adjust from this view to a more racy look or then the simplistic view. Digital instruments are adjustable. Here, for example, the middle part, assistance systems view, very impressive GPS view, wow, Austrian mountains, or also full screen. And then this is the night vision, and you can also switch to the right side what you want to have there and click through further to the left side. But sometimes you are not quite sure where you are at the moment in adjustment, so it's not that intuitive. However, I really love that we have real buttons at the steering wheel here, at the volume jog, or also here for the voice input, so something to press. And the physical drive mode selector at the steering wheel. The shifting lever is now here, like in the Taycan, drive or reverse. Has this metal knurling brown shaver atmosphere. Yeah, it is somewhat practical, but of course not really that sporty, you know what I mean? And of course, how can we miss that? The stopwatch. Middle console, slide this one open, charging via cable, USB-C or inductive charging. And then I really appreciate to still have a manual climate unit and with nice clicking sounds as well. Then we have here cup holders. You can also slide it forward or open it for more space. And if you wonder about fingerprints and scratches here, middle console, yes, definitely a problem. New infotainment system. You have either this home screen or this one. This has this app view, I would say, and everything has been reworked. This is the car internal GPS, which is well usable indeed. And of course you have the Apple CarPlay or the Android Auto. Integration looks like this, and the Burmester sound system, €6,000 extra, is actually pretty cool. Has like a true sound, so not too bass intensive indeed, and not too much surroundish. And here you can see when I switch the driving modes at the steering wheel, they also appear here, and then you can also set everything in the screen. The passenger screen cannot be seen from the left, only when you are at the passenger seat. Then you can actually see it. And for example, for doing GPS, but also the instruments of the drivers, G-force, yeah, very important in the Cayenne. And also video streaming is possible depending on the installed apps. They will offer more and more there. The panoramic roof, you can open this slider here, and this is also still one you can really open completely. Here, double action slider plus, and well, it goes really wide like this. And then you can also move the slider totally to the rear. The slider here now via touch, and the middle part for the glass roof is still with physical feedback. Rear seating area in the Cayenne SUV. Really upright, these rear seats, you can see that already, and that also delivers you a good seating comfort. You have enough legroom here also for tall persons when other tall persons are driving, and rear headroom here to the side is kind of shallow. In the coupe they lower the bench a little bit, that the headroom is still guaranteed, and here you can adjust the back part of the seat. That is of course a cool feature. And also when you want to have more trunk, you slide forward here in a 2/3, 1/3 split. The middle seat, let's check it out. You can sit here. It's actually quite good for a 3-seater in the rear. This massive middle tunnel here, but you can actually easily get along with 5 tall Ls. And in the middle part you have a nice console, and I really appreciate that it's not all just touch, but you also have here these nice knurled clicking buttons for the temperature control. Big microphone for you today, by the way, so you don't hear background noise. Then here, let's check out the trunk or the boot area. And the width is about 1 meter or 40 inches, a little bit longer, and also the standard length is 1 meter or 40 inches. And you can see you can fold the seats, but you have to go around, and then 2/3, 1/3 split. And the maximum height, 78 centimeters, which is around 30 centimeters. Actually very well usable here for a sports SUV. The coupe version, of course, is always a little bit limited here in this back area, but it's not a large compromise. Second interior, first of all, accentuations in neodyme. So this, I would say, slightly golden look. Looks pretty fancy, doesn't it? And this is also the Cayenne S with a lightweight sports package. That means we have the sports seats with the retro fabric on the inside. I think it looks pretty special, definitely reminding us of a retro 911. And also because the fabric surface is just softer, you have more comfort in these seats actually. And also the side support helps while driving, especially like slalom and so on. So this whole interior then feels a little more racy. This is, by the way, also a manual adjustment of the steering wheel. However, make no mistake, this vehicle here has even more coast-intensive options than the other interior. But overall pretty cool. And here we also feature an Alcantara steering wheel for even more grip. So this setup here overall is pretty cool. I would go for this one here. Special thing about the armrest, look at that, it so easily goes forward and backward. In the European versions and some other markets, the US version by law requires a special safety mechanism that gets stuck and then you have to release it to press it forward. And that's also better for the US version, definitely, because we had situations where we were approaching a traffic light, and then imagine there's like a hot coffee paper cup here in the cup holders, and then you just have your arm here, have a little bit of G-force forward, and then this happens easily. So the Porsche guys told me that this has not changed for the facelift here, but I felt that it has never been that loose, so to speak. So yeah, either get the US version, then it's no problem at all. And other than that, I told the Porsche guys that I think that it needs to be, a little bit heavier in the movement. Rear seats of the Cayenne Coupe. Well, we also have the lightweight sports package seats here with a nice fabric. And this is then the setup with the single seats. So in the middle part, we have no seating possibility, but you can also get a through bench for the Coupe. And well, we have no panoramic roof in this case. And the roof is a little bit falling backwards. So yeah, it is a little bit limited in the headroom as for the Coupe, but not too much, because at the same time, they put the seat bench in the back part a little bit lower. So the seating angle is a little bit different. To me, you sit more comfortable, more upright in the normal SUV version, but still, it's totally fine here. So this trade-off for the Coupe look is, to me, totally okay. And now we have to talk about floor mats. Look at that here. The front floor mats, they have this knob, and that way they are secured, the floor mats here. But the rear floor mats now, see that? They don't have that. So the previous version had these clips in the rear floor mats, and I was wondering now, is this just cost savings? And I asked the Porsche managers about that, and they actually said no, the reason behind it is that customers actually went to the Porsche dealer, and then the Porsche dealers actually filed a report that a couple of times it happened that people tried to take out the floor mats and they were secured by the knob, and then they were ripping the floor mat apart together with the floor underneath it. Really? And that is the reason why they changed it, took out this secure mechanism here, and now it's just loose in there. But there's also like a slidable background of this one. So sometimes we ended up going out of the vehicle and the floor mat was like this all over the place, basically. So I don't know. I mean, first of all, who would rip the whole floor apart with the floor mat? I mean, can't you take out the floor mat properly? And secondly, if you change to this solution, then maybe at least make the background of the floor mat sticky or something, right? All right, Sport Plus. Let's accelerate it out. Let's see. Plop, that is already around 80 kilometers an hour. Wow, pretty impressive. And I was starting basically in the corner. That's also what the Cayenne is standing for. It is an SUV, but it feels like a sports car. At the same time, it is very well controllable. All-wheel drive has a rear-wheel bias, and all the engines have been upgraded. As for the power, here around 350 horsepower for the base Cayenne 6-cylinder, 3-liter 6-cylinder. Around 6 seconds is the acceleration figure, the official one, to 1 kilometers an hour or 62 miles an hour, and yeah, kinda also reached that indeed. They have also worked on the suspension, both the base suspension and also the optional air suspension, which we have here, and they promise actually that it's sportier and more comfortable at the same time. And it also switches then according to the driving mode. Here, for example, Sport or Sport Plus, it's a little bit stiffer. Also, it goes lower at higher speeds, and I can also switch then back again to the normal mode. And then we have a little bit more comfort. But actually, all the different modes are really fine. And indeed, I have to say, we also have big wheels mounted here today. But even if you run over some potholes and so on, it's not uncomfortable at all. You have this upright command driving position, and the suspension is really doing a good job. If you ask yourself, base suspension or air suspension, of course the air suspension offers you more flexibility and variety from comfort to sportiness, but the base suspension will also do fine. So the problem with the Cayenne is that it easily gets too expensive with all the different options. At the end of this review, we'll also talk about the very concise price of this very vehicle. But indeed, I mean, the ride before, in the pre-facelift, was already superb. But here, even a notch more comfort and a notch more sportiness, yes, they have achieved that indeed. And also noise insulation-wise, so silent in here. At the moment, around 70 kilometers an hour, now going like 80 kilometers an hour. It's like 50 miles an hour. And it's super silent. You don't hear any rolling noise, no wind noise, nothing at all. So I really fine-tuned this vehicle. And sometimes it is good when they don't do like an all new generation, but really fine-tune an existing one. However, this extensive facelift here, what feeling do you get? Yes, it doesn't feel like a completely new vehicle, but it really feels even more refined. So if you have an existing Porsche Cayenne, I wouldn't necessarily say that it feels so different that you definitely need the newest one, you know, because the existing one is already fine. But when you step into the Cayenne world now, even a notch more, you know, smoothness, sportiness and comfort at the same time. If you like these digital instruments, like this full digitalization of the cockpit now, that is of course a matter of preference, you know. Everything is more digitalized now, but I'm happy that we still, for example, have the manual climate control seat in the center knob, center control console. So while driving, I can still control that. And also while driving, to me, it's really important that I can change the driving modes directly at the steering wheel. With so many new modern vehicles, we are distracted picking something in the infotainment system while driving. At least for the driving mode, this remains really, really straightforward and simple. And what I also want to show you here, the rear axle steering, turning all the way in, and for such a large SUV, it really handles very well because the rear wheels go in the opposite direction than the front wheels, and yeah, to get to speed again, also so effortless indeed. So I feel that this new Cayenne, and we can say new Cayenne indeed, is just smoother. And one more time, 50 to 100. Plop, that's it already. And here you feel the good handling. Yes, of course, you sit higher, but you hardly feel it's an SUV. Also good side support from the seat. And I really like the precise steering input. So hardly any other SUV gives you such a good handling balance feeling. And there's no dead zone area from the steering. And you exactly know what you're doing. You have a great feedback from the tires, from the road. That's also what you expect when you get a Porsche. Well, for me, it would actually be the main reason. And the cool thing that you still have it in their big SUV. At the same time, when it's city time here, you go back to the normal driving mode. Suspension goes softer again. And you just relax and enjoy the comfort. The seats, by the way, from the material also, and the skin pretty stiff. So the seat ergonomics, what's underneath the seat is good. Top part, you have always more comfort when you go for the race text, the microfiber, or for the sport text, the fabric seats. So by that, you can not only do something for the animals, but also increase your seating comfort. And here, once again, also when you're in a normal driving mode and accelerate it out, when you pin it down, you also get the full power. And you can always watch your passengers going like, oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah. You always have to watch out. Stuff happens like that. And now, guys, the V8 in the Cayenne S. Wow. Der hat aber ordentlich Druck, Alter. Would we say in German. As in, that one has, you know, a lot of pressure, yo. Der hat aber ordentlich Druck, Alter. Listen and repeat. Yeah, and this is like a second quicker in the acceleration figure to 1 kilometers or 62 miles an hour than the V6, the upgraded one. And of course, sound-wise, yeah, we had the sport exhaust in the V6, which sounded nice indeed, but here you have a little bit more, I would say, raw sound, can you call it that way? And also some really nice winding corners here. Wow, although it's a heavy SUV, it gets out of the corner really quickly and super precise. Here once again the handling, the Alcantara steering is also helping me with that. And then the sport seat with the fabric, I don't slide on that so much. So this is a overall sportier setup we have here. Wow, so much fun. That is really the thing about this Cayenne. You can have so much driving, sporty driving fun, although it is the large and heavy SUV, and it can also be comfortable at any time. You know, that's the real cool thing. Some other, yeah, we're also giving in the colleagues a nice shot here, passing by. Beautiful roads here also. This is so much fun. Also is not leaning into the corner at all. If you ask me V6 versus V8, yes, of course, sticking with the opinion that the V6 is enough. The V8 just delivers a little bit more raw sound experience. Yes, even a little bit quicker. Yeah, then the weight, I wouldn't say that you really feel the big weight difference or so, you know, that's not the thing. Of course, also price-wise, it goes higher, but you will also see at our final pricing result, the price of the Cayenne is really varying so much depending on the picked options. So which engine you go for is not the main thing. It's really about the individual options you pick. And here you have to say, when you go for the sportier seats and the sportier steering wheel, for example, that already makes a massive difference in driving. Driving modes here, same, I can also go to the normal mode. And we have a little bit softer feedback also once again here from the air suspension. Yeah, just the Alcantara steering wheel is so great. All the steering wheels are, by the way, pretty thin. I like that. Thomas B, cameraman, he more prefers a little bit thicker steering wheels. Talked about that earlier, but I think it really helps you here in very precise driving. And you know, when you're passing some houses and so on, normal driving mode, keeping it also a little bit more silent. When you're more than again on the open road, you can go to a sportier mode and then accelerate it out. Wow, so flawless overall. And the S driving feeling is of course different here now with this V8 once again. So goodbye for the 2.9 liter 6-cylinder bi-turbo. That will not be here anymore. It won't come back. It is a combination, you know, like emission things and also the power you can get out of this one. So they decided to now once again go upsizing here with the V8, and yeah, fun-wise, definitely nice. So one more good shots here for the other camera team. Consumption-wise, of course, the thing is that the 8-cylinder will consume more fuel, so definitely have to calculate with that. The 6-cylinder is overall the more logical, more economic choice without compromising on fun. But of course, you've experienced it here. The V8 does deliver something special, no doubt. Pricing this very vehicle around 90,000 euros base price, but then 50,000 euros of extra, so 140k in total. And the price here for our Bentley Cayenne S, 67,000 euros of extra equipment, making a total price of 180,000 euros. So is it now all new or is it a facelift? It's a very extensive facelift indeed, and just the side doors, they have remained the same. Most of the other things have been replaced indeed, and they want to make it fit for the next years actually. In 2025 we will present to you the all-new electric Cayenne, and then these two, the combustion and the electric Cayenne, will run parallel for a couple of years. That's why they reworked it now so intensively. Do you want to see me driving the most powerful Audi combustion engine of all time from standard works production? Here it is, the Audi RSQ8 updated version, a slight facelift with more power in the Audi RSQ8 Performance. An option for the European market, will be standard for the Northern American version. We're going to take it on the racetrack even here today. Does that work? We'll find out. We'll find out with Thomas and Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go with the front grille, which has been updated. This wider mask optional for the performance version. You can also get here carbon fiber and really large gaps than here in the grille. And you can see here the Audi rings, they are now flat, two-dimensional, but I say honestly, when they are dark like this, they are less visible, especially if you drive in the front and look at it at the rear mirror and so on. Floret silver is this vehicle color. On the racetrack we'll also have a chili red one. Headlamps also updated in the styling and matrix LED standard. Optional HD matrix LED with laser lights. You can also see it here. You have different light signatures, and when you open or close the vehicle when it's dark, or as a trick when you also want to have it functioning when it's bright, then you use this one here. Just glue a tape here on the light sensor. Then you can actually also make it visible in daytime. Just for you actually, and it's both available for the front and for the rear. Very cool, welcoming light signature, so they really like to play with light these days. Then towards the side profile, 5 meters and 2 or 198 inches, significant length. You get 22 or 23-inch wheels, optional, and even this one here is an option, the forged wheel, weight reduction then, and also standard for the performance model are the carbon ceramic brakes. They are otherwise an option for the normal RSQ8, so this performance version is taking almost all options in, and then also is adding some stuff that you can only get for the performance version, like the carbon fiber details and so on. Technology-wise, adaptive air suspension is standard. You also get the rear axis steering up to 5 degrees in the opposite direction than the front wheels it can turn, and optionally you can get, there's even an option for the performance version, an anti-tilt control together with a sports differential at the rear. Then and towards the rear we have more carbon fiber details with this additional carbon fiber pack. Updated sports exhaust here with the really large black tip, but Autogefühl fake exhaust police for you active, because the real exhaust is on the inside. The tail lamps have been updated. They now are OLED technology, and you can see they also have this proximity sensor. So depending on where, there it is. So there it's not, and then when I move closer to the vehicle, then we have here these details which fill out, so to speak, to say you are too close now. So definitely with a more modern look, also go through like this here, and carbon fiber even here underneath the Audi rings, which are again two-dimensional and also a little bit darkened out. That's, I would say, is rather a matter of taste, isn't it? So let's take a look at the engine. Audi is promising, by the way, a wider span in the suspension between comfort and sportiness, and also more power to this engine. And under the hood we have the 4-liter V8 bi-turbo, and in the normal RSQ8 with 600 horsepower, and here also nice RS badge here. Oh, it's nice and warm here also for the fingers now. Here in the performance version with 640 horsepower and now 850 Newton meters of torque, and 0.2 seconds quicker in the acceleration, now at 3.6 seconds to 100 kilometers an hour or 262 miles an hour. That's of course really impressive. Did some tuning also for the suspension, engine setup, the driving dynamics, so it could even score a new record lap on the Nürburgring Nordschleife. And we're not on Nordschleife today, but on the Castelloli racetrack here in Spain, and see how that one scores the laps there. As for the all-wheel drive setup, by the way, it's of course standard all-wheel drive, and you usually have 40-60 distribution, standard quattro all-wheel drive. But here it can also then send up to 85% from the power to the rear axle, so we always have a strong rear wheel bias. And if you really hammer the throttle, of course, we'll see how that one plays out very soon. I can promise this will be very exciting. There is also an emotional startup feature, so for that I have to turn on the ignition first, then select the dynamic driving mode in the drive select, so this is then selected, and when I then press the brake and start up the vehicle, it goes over 2000 RPM and also blop, 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 blop from the exhaust. Otherwise it would stay below 2000 RPM and would also not go for the cracks and plops of the exhaust. So that's the neighbor friendly versus neighbor's war edition of the startup. Key fob,
Yeah, nice. It's high gloss black, but you have the RS logo. Then you have either a soft close here, if you spec that optionally. Other than that, frameless doors, and for frameless doors, they sound actually quite okay. You know, it's not too bad. Then inside of the doors, we have here some microfiber insets. It's cool also that it's plush underneath. So there's one thing that you have microfiber used, but the other thing that you also have it plush underneath. So that's actually pretty cool. No cover here, however, for the inside of the doors. Then an RSQ8 entry badge. And we also have the microfiber steering that is available with the RS design package. Then you also have the red accentuations on the seats. However, here, for that one, only animal skin available. I would wish for a Dynamica microfiber option there, for example, or for a high-grade leather red. But it's a rather older platform meanwhile, so they have not updated that, sadly. Then here, 189, 6'2", my height, a lot of headroom left. This one without any kind of... Oh, bless you.
I'm sorry.
Well, it's so sweet when Leah is snoozing, right? Yeah, it's like music still. When I'm snoozing, I'm like... And she was like, okay, everyone heard that now. That's the thing. The same with you. Then here we also have a microfiber headliner, actually. So that's actually pretty cool. So when is the headliner playing on the main stage? Like, yeah, all the festival fans are with me with it. Microfiber here as well, so good quality of the materials. And here, nice shifting pedals we have at the steering wheel, and we also have an electric steering column. And what I appreciate with this platform is always this smooth transition here from the football basically to the outside. This is special here to an Audi Q8, Q7, VW Touareg, Bentley Bentayga, Porsche Cayenne, Lamborghini Urus. Now I have them all, right? Cockpit overview, this one here from these previous generations Audi. So you have the split screen in the top here, the main infotainment unit, in the lower part the AC unit, which you can control quite well for a non-physical solution. You know, I always prefer physical dials, at least you have some for the volume, for example. But for a screen solution climate unit, it's actually quite easy to control. So the downside is you don't have everything so big in the infotainment, but then again, some included visually, and I joined that because it's visually better, because it's here integrated than in the whole dashboard, whereas new modern infotainment systems are often like poof, attached and in your face, you know what I mean? But overall clean layout. Then here in the middle console, really wide. Cup holders, they are nice and also adaptive. Then we also have a microfiber covering here of the shifting gear. If you remember my personal episode of my private car, I also had that exact same job done because it wasn't standard for my vehicle, and so I retrofitted that one. That's also a pretty cool thing to do. Then this armrest here is nice on the top with the microfiber, and then you can also make that a little bit higher here. But this mechanism has something to do with one of the biggest flaws in this vehicle, is that here underneath you have this big hard box, and when you have no cable here and you have it like within the inductive charging and so on, then it's maybe okay. Other than that, as soon as you install a cable or the smartphone doesn't, you know, lie in here perfectly, you crash everything. So like the cable is crashed, the smartphones are crashed and so on. And I have no idea why anyone would do that, not think about that people not always put it here, because the problem is also this inductive charging pad is not vented, not ventilated, and the smartphones do like overheat after a couple of minutes or something, especially when you then have a map app running and so on. So I rather prefer to put it then with the cable and then put it down like this, that it doesn't charge with the inductive charging. At least you can pick with the Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, with wired or wireless. That's what I also criticize about BMW, because BMW is forcing you to use the wireless connection, whereas here, for example, you can choose between the wireless connection and the wired connection for Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. And these Sports Seats Plus, they look cool. You can argue about the red stitching and so on, but the thing is here, with 189 and 602, and when I really put my spine up, the seat is not tall enough, you know. And that's also the thing about the integrated head restraints. It looks cool, but it's not adjustable and it doesn't fit
all heights then. And if you're even taller than me from your upper body, this is also a safety thing. So, I mean, if I'm like sitting with the spine like this, maybe so. But if I have it upright and then there's a crash, you know, it's not ideal, because usually it should be like here, you know, that is also the best in the sense of a crash when like against whiplash and so on. Driver POV, hey, we still have the 3-dimensional Audi rings here, and honestly, this looks so much cooler and more premium than the all-new solution where it's just flat. Or what do you think about this? Then, real buttons at the steering wheel, with nice clicking sounds. Also here to change the view, for example, right side for the volume, and the special RS button. And then you can also individualize your settings. So usually you would use here the drive select in the non-RS models. And this is of course not that easy to access. With the RS buttons, there you can also individualize your settings then if you want it all the way sporty or maybe not. And then how you want to have an RS1 and RS2 mode defined. And then here, what's also special to the RS model here, you also have these wide background here on the digital RPM meter. So, and you can switch the views right there. In the RS mode, it also looks different, but you can also individualize that just as you wish. And then you also have a head-up display. It's not flickering in real life, just on camera, by the way. And here in the main infotainment system, you have a nice overview here, standard. And there's also a trick, by the way. If you press and hold this one, then you can also slide it to the left side. And then you have suddenly a hotkey to the Apple CarPlay. Olia's looking at me like, oh my God, how did you do that? It's amazing. So then we can press this hotkey here, Apple CarPlay, and Auto is available. So I'm fine with the infotainment systems, also quick enough, even though it's maybe old school for some. And then here, once again, the climate unit, up and down, easy solution. And there's also the trick that you can slide from outward to inward to sync left and right again. Also important that here you can set your hotkeys, and for example also set like to deactivate the speed limit with chime and so on. Rear seats and the rear doors, and with the cool mechanism here of the electric shades, and when you press one more time then it's for the windows. This is like the maximum it goes down, frameless here in the rear. And I like this easy mechanism that you can just use the window switch to put that down and up again. Pretty nice feature, isn't it? Microfiber at the inside here, just here then hard pack, no inside cover there. And then you can slide the seats forward and backward. I'm going to show that to you also from the trunk. And then here, this is the release stand to put it down. When you have it like this, it's fixed. Then you have to pull the lever up again like this. You can also vary the angle of a seat by that a little bit. And here in the middle part, we have cup holders. They are also adaptive. Maybe not the favorite ones. They're also really tiny, though, I have to say. And you also can put this middle stuff down there for a ski hatch. You have an own climate unit in the rear with nice clicking sounds. It is hashtag capacitive BS from the fields. However, at least some clicking sounds. And yeah, you can rule left and right in the menu. And since the facelift here, USB-C chargers then in the lower part, massive middle tunnel. Can you sit there in the middle part? It is possible for a tall adult, headroom wise, no problem. 189, 6'2". Yeah, and knee room also works. So indeed, you can easily sit here, enough space. So yeah, for 5 tall adults, that's totally fine. And then you can vary the trunk space or then here the length. And it's upright, comfortable. Of course, the head restraints, I will put a little bit more upward like this. Yeah, it's a very good traveling feeling also in the rear. Check out the boot or the trunk here, electric hatch of course. And let's see here, this is pretty cool. Here the electric cover, so it automatically raises and goes down again when you open it. A mirror of 40 inches in width in the lower part, a little bit wider than in the top part. And the width here is also well usable, yeah, almost 1.10 and 43 inches. And the height here at the highest point, about 77 centimeters or 30 inches. To fold the seats, cannot do it from here, have to go around. Cabin trolley, by the way, also fits in vertically under the seats there and lifting it up. Theoretically also for a replacement tire. There we go. We can also put down the air suspension a little bit lower if we like that. I have to go around to the rear, fold it, use the lever, and then we also fixed it here, and then the thing is then like it's really fixed, and you can also slide it forward or backward. That would also be possible. So when you also have it upright and then like this, there you can even gain a little bit more trunk length. That's possible. And the total length then to the seats as we are driving, there we go. That is here 190 in meters or 74 inches. That is the launch control. It was like 0 to 140, 150 kilometers an hour, something like that, with the Audi RSQ8 performance. And we start using this here on the track because here we can safely demonstrate all the performance features to you. And yeah, this is, so to speak, the Cayenne GTS from Audi, and that one does go on the racetrack very well. Let's see how this one can be controlled. And I mean, it's a really large SUV, and I have to say, already after some corners, it is astonishing that it works here on the racetrack. So, wow, great acceleration. Now 640 horsepower, 850 Newton meters of torque. And I remember driving the RSQ8 in the pre-facelift version, and this one is even spicier. So that does give you even more boost, and also a little bit sporty as for the whole setting. It also scored a record lap on the Nürburgring Nordschleife, and you do feel that it has been set up on the racetrack. Wow, ceramic brakes here give us good brake performance, and the steering is super precise. Awesome. Wow, can't believe how smooth it is on the racetrack actually, and that you don't feel the weight that much. Of course, it's still an SUV, and the low-sitting sports car will be better on the racetrack, will feel it is lighter and better to control and so on. But considering this is a large SUV, it's amazing how good it is to drive actually. And I love the microfiber steering wheel that gives me good control over the vehicle. And here now, with the all-wheel drive, you can also be on the gas already at the exit of the corner. Really good. I've been driving this one with a couple of vehicles already, and I mean, here the animal skin surface, the problem is that it's kind of like slick, so you slide on it a little bit. So a microfiber seat would be better than for the racetrack, definitely. Woo! Yeah, one more time, hard on the gas. Pretty nice. And yeah, the brake feeling is really good, but favorite thing is really the steering, I have to say, because it's so precise and I know exactly what I'm doing, and still can't believe that this is an Q8 I'm driving here on the racetrack. 23-inch wheels we have mounted here. These are also the new forged wheels, reduce the weight a little bit, and you know, weight is everything on the racetrack. Of course, you can't deny physics, so at some point it does push you out of the corners because it is a large SUV, but it's actually not too heavy to control in the sense of how much force is being applied to you. That's very interesting. So yeah, I mean, recently I was on the racetrack with the Mercedes-AMG GT, and honestly, that one felt heavier than this one, although this one of course is more in weight, but it's really astonishing how also like the anti-tilt control that is an option together with the rear sports differential is keeping us actually upright. So you see, although it is a high-sitting vehicle, it does not tilt at all. And I think you can see that on the camera that we have no tilting effect whatsoever. So I'm really a fan of lightweight sports cars on the racetrack, and that will also never change, and they are more fun on the racetrack. But considering for this type of vehicle, it is actually fun to steer it in a very agile way. And I feel actually the smoothness and the transitions also here there is a very linear feel of how you can apply the throttle. So especially here, these combinations, when you go out of the corner, open the steering wheel, hard on the throttle, it is aggressive, yet again, you can smoothly control it over the racetrack. That's what I actually prefer about this one. So indeed, if you already had an RSQ8 and want something even more, with this update here, they did significantly spice it up. Also listen to that sound, that sport exhaust is giving us a good vibe. And yeah, honestly, what I also think about when I was driving this one the very first time, 2019, we were on Tenerife in the driving event. My dad was still with us. Yeah, unfortunately, he died the year after that. And sometimes you have vehicles and experiences which you connect to, you know, very emotional events you have, and this is one of the vehicles of that. Although I would never buy one because it's only available with the animal skin seats, it's still that I have a, you know, emotional experience with this vehicle, and it always reminds me of that. And so it's also, you know, always a lot of fun to go back to certain memories like that. And wow, it's really cool, really enjoying that. I mean, still, if I would pick voluntarily a vehicle for the racetrack, it would still be like a Porsche 718 Cayman or Boxster or something like that, and not an SUV. But most of the time, of course, this will not be used in the racetrack, but here we can safely demonstrate to you the performance, the power. Here we have the great acceleration, even quicker than before. And of course, that's super handling, so we can safely do it here. Don't have to do it actually on public roads. So this is also then a cool experience. Wow. So my favorite is definitely the acceleration out of the corners. That is really an amazing thing. And here with the ceramic brakes, we have no brake fading at all. So I always have the very same braking performance. That's of course a very cool thing to do. So now enjoy some corners just with the sound. Also hear something squeaking tires. There we go. Oh, that was a little bit, you know, that was one moment where it was kind of like not exactly know what the engine wants to do, but this was the first time that this happened actually. Ah, beautiful. Well, you can also have some fun in city driving, or when you go here to the normal roads and stuff. So, for example, when using the comfort mode, suspension is a little bit more forgiving. However, since we recently had the SQ7 and also the SQ8, so like one model below that, you do feel a lot of differences indeed. So when you step in the vehicle, first not, but then when you start driving, so the steering is, even in the comfort mode, way harder to control and to steer, whereas an SQ8 or an SQ7, let's say, rather than steering-wise and comfort-wise, feels not too different from normal Q7 or Q8, but then has like this, you know, V8 experience still and a lot of power. But here definitely everything is sportier and stiffer, and you feel it with the steering and the suspension setup and so on. So you know, subtle differences then from the model to the model, from comfort to sportiness, whatever you prefer. Yet at the same time, the suspension here, when you have it in the comfort mode, it's comfortable enough. It's more a wheel choice then. So I also recommend not to pick the biggest wheels then here for the RSQ8, because that one reduces the comfort definitely. Steering also really precise then here when you're on these roundabouts, and getting out of it really nice. Yeah, then the power sets in. So the comfort mode really is totally fine for everyday driving, you know, especially because when you have the larger wheels, the suspension should be a little bit softer to even it out, and even on the motorway and so on. And I found that the helpful thing of having here the performance version is also definitely the button at the steering wheel, because when I switch to driving modes, when I get on the motorway with the normal models, I have to do something here below with the drive selects, not ideal and so on. And here actually I can just
Interesting, the graph is behind us. I can just click once here on the steering wheel, and then I'm in the RS mode, and then I can also fine-tune what this RS mode means to me. And yeah, I think the best choice is actually putting RS, like everything sporty except the ESC off, and then the RS2, for example, the ESC off if you are on a maybe like closed circuit as we were earlier, and so on. And then you can just easily access this, this like dynamic mode plus, I call it that way, because otherwise you could also select the dynamic mode here, and then already like there's a gear lower, you're kind of ready to jump, and yeah, that acceleration just goes a little bit quicker than if we would be in the comfort mode. So just to show you the difference. So when I'm here in the comfort mode, it's usually a gear higher, and when I'm then suddenly on the gas, the vehicle takes a while. There we are. That's like in the comfort mode. And
Comfort mode?
oh yeah, yeah. Nia's like,
Okay.
and now here in the RS mode, already a gear lower. Oh, we're also in the tunnel here now. So let's listen to that. Ready, guys? It's just by being like a gear lower, it's just more instant, that acceleration. And in a way, it's also better for the passenger, because you don't have like this sudden shifting down and this like humping effect, so to speak.
So always RS.
Yeah, Leah is definitely a fan of the
sporty.
RS mode then for that, yeah. Suspension wise, by the way, if you stick in the RS mode here, let's feel that. Then back to the comfort mode. Let's see where it is. And then you have to click it through, that's the thing. So now,
Maybe a little bit.
I would say the suspension is stiff in both cases. Yeah, it's just the base setup of the suspension and the wheel size. So it is just a stiffer setup here. So you would not go for that one if that disturbs you, But here, when the road is even on the motorway, that's of course great, because it gives you so much stability, and at the same time you have the performance always on demand. Cruise control, you can set here with a separate stalk column in the lower part, and it's also here with the active lane keeping assist. Let's see how smooth it is. I love that. Like this microfiber steering wheel, by the way, also in everyday driving life. Here also then in the tunnel again, in the bend. Yeah, that's really nice. So very smooth here. Then we have the blind spot monitor and the side mirrors, very visible. That's pretty cool. So very sophisticated. Yeah, some ambient lighting on the right side. Maybe you can set it to blue for the next tunnel or something, then we can better see that. Because like the yellow is not that visible usually. So here, once again, the steering corrections are done in a very smooth way. So yeah, it's just right. It's background lighting, and then background lighting, and then and bright all the way. Yeah, then we can. Yeah, next tunnel is approaching right there. So it can also be good long-term commuter in a sense of motorway, faster speed, still good suspension. The only thing, of course, here with the seats, these performance seats, plus the animal skin surface, so hard. So it's not ideal.
Short.
Yeah, and too short here. Like too short for my head actually. So nothing for too tall guys. Yeah, so they should definitely offer like a dynamic microfiber option here. There we go. So now we can see better here of the blue is always more visible at night, definitely. Yeah. So seats, I think, is the main problem. There, for example, like a BMW X5 competitor just has way better seats, way more comfortable. So Audi needs to work on that and offer better options there. I mean, they have the knowledge, they just have to use it. Let's take it that way. Here, by the way, when I use the turning indicator when someone is in the blind spot monitor, then I also have the flashing effect. That is like an additional warning I get there. So all the everyday driving life experience here, especially on the motorway, is pretty good. Just that you have the wheel choice when you really want to define the very comfort.
and the seats are not ideal. But also noise insulation wise, the thing is that the performance version has these de-dampening measures, so they took away some insulation. I mean, here in Spain you can't drive too quick on the motorway, so here on 100 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour, what we felt like at 120 or something is that there's some wind turbulence from the side mirrors sometimes, but I could not say that this is really louder than the SQ7 or SQ8 we recently had at home or something. So I would say it's still comparable. It's not that they took away some insulation that you hear more wind noise, I felt. Yeah, it's a little bit similar to the Porsche Cayenne GTS, or in general the GTS philosophy. They also do that there. They are indeed like at really high speeds. We felt that the Panamera GTS or like a Cayenne GTS is indeed louder than the non-GTS counterparts, which I think doesn't make much sense. You can of course hear more of the engine by that, and here if it really makes a difference on high speeds, we would need to test that then on the German Autobahn. Can't test these high speeds then here in Spain, at least not on the roads. And like how it behaves sound-wise on the racetrack is of course always the question, if you can really one-to-one compare that. Fuel economy, you do need something between 12 and 13 liters on 100 kilometers for a normal consumption without being too much performance driving and so on. So it's around the 20 mpg US and 22-23 mpg UK mark. And by the way, here, what I criticized earlier here with the darkened out Audi rings, there is also a version available with bright rings, or that would be the standard. And then if you go for a black package, then it would get the darkened out rings. In this case here, the logic is the carbon package is also available with the bright rings. And this vehicle here has the carbon package, and on top of that, the darkened out rings package, so to speak. So it's a little bit complicated in the logic. I would always go with the bright rings. We have it here, for example, in the vehicle of this, like this Nordschleife Nürburgring record vehicle. That one has the bright rings. Pricing, the 2024 model is still at $126,000 US, North American market. It will change, I guess, for the 2025 model, because then you also get this performance as standard. On the European market, the prices are already out for this one here, 142,000 euros in Germany, starting with the RSQ8, 156,000 euros for the performance version. Then, of course, some extras, you can even get more expensive with that as it stands here right now. So really hefty price. You can easily also get a Cayenne GTS for that. But then again, it's maybe a matter of preference, which brand you prefer. They all drive exceptionally well. You've seen it. Although it's so heavy and a large SUV, it even indeed works on the racetrack. That's the impressive part. We start with one of Leah's favorite features today. Here, the vehicle key is available in the vehicle color.
Yay! Carmine red. Let's go.
And now it's my turn here with the full review of the Porsche Cayenne GTS, the new GTS updated version. We're going to tell you all about this 4-liter V8 German Autobahn part extensively for you. And what have they changed here with this facelift in 4K, full screen, full length? Let's go. First of all, basically the whole front wagon has been changed here with this update here for the Cayenne. And the GTS version is the strongest pure petrol engine for the European market. On the Northern American market, you will also have the Turbo GT above that, but soon more about the power figures. The front wagon has a more horizontal stress now here in this lower graphic, for example, and also updated headlamps. You can see here in like this 4-strip design, and this is also here the HD matrix LED. It is standard for the GTS model, otherwise it's an option. Carmine red is the color, as Leah just said, and the GTS has special new features. For example, here these wider wheel arches painted in high gloss black, and 21-inch wheels would be standard. These here, however, 22-inch wheels, the biggest ones that are available, also optional with the carbon ceramic brakes. You can see it here with the yellow brake calipers, which meanwhile you can also get other brake caliper colors for, by the way, but this is like the standard color for that. The wheel design, by the way, has this old school retro 911 design. I think it fits very well to the vehicle. And red and black, they have always been the classic elements for the GTS, even though it's available in different colors. Yeah, that's kind of like the classic thing for that. SUV styling here, you know, there's still the Cayenne Coupe available. However, now they look more alike because even in the SUV with the update, the number plate went to the lower part now. So this lower part now is more or less the same with Coupe and also with the SUV. And then here the black GTS badge, everything blacked out. Also this three-dimensional Porsche right there. And now I also activated the rear lamps here. Look at that, there's a light strip going all the way through like this. So it has been a little bit more simplified, this design, I would call it that way. In the lower part, where you can see there's also the sports exhaust. And well, is this a job for the Autogefühl fake exhaust today? No, not at all. So if you, by the way, want to get your t-shirt, our online shop is online right now. If you haven't seen it so far, it's always integrated below the video and also linked in the video description or in the pinned comments. So get yours right now from the Autogefühl fake exhaust released, which has done a great job. That, yeah, these ones are definitely clear. Two different engines for the Cayenne, and both are available with or without plug-in hybrid, either a 3-liter V6 or here the 4-liter V8 bi-turbo. 500 horsepower now for the GTS, 40 horsepower plus with this update here. 4.4 seconds is the acceleration figure. That is 0.3 seconds quicker than the Cayenne S, which meanwhile also has the 4-liter V8. So once again, as I said, in the EU, the strongest pure petrol engine. Turbo GT would be above that than in the Northern American market. Quicker would be just the electrified turbo then. Well, and there's even more features here for the GTS, and they even took some of the features from the Turbo GT. For example, the negative camber or for the front wheels, so it's even sportier, more direct in the driving, and it gets standard the adaptive air suspension. Optionally, you can also get a rear axle steering up to 3 degrees. It turns in from the rear wheels in the opposite direction than the front wheels, making the car more agile at lower speeds, better U-turn and so on. And optionally, also equipped with this vehicle, you can also get the PDCC. That's a Porsche Dynamic Chassis Control, and that is an anti-tilt control that it stays even more upright. This vehicle here is equipped with soft close, ta-da, but also the door closing sound. It's pretty nice. More high frequency in the front, a little bit more low frequency in the rear. I like it even more in the rear actually, about that. Then inside of the doors, GTS version. Here with some microfiber use already here, pretty stiff, however, not really soft, but really stretched tightly. Red contour stitches, also some covering at the inside of the lower doors, for example. GTS entry badge, and even more red contour stitches together with the Racetex steering wheel, my favorite steering wheel, good grip for that one. Then the seats, also with microfiber Racetex, however with a new pattern. So it's not just plain microfiber, it has a special pattern, and then there's the microfiber on top of this pattern. So that looks really interesting for sure. But how is it in comfort? I would say the main difference is that when it's completely microfiber, like here or at the inside of the doors, it is a little bit stickier, and here you slide a little bit more on that. We have to see also long-term comfort, how it plays out. Then 189, 6'2", some headroom left here. So overall good, comfortable seating position. There's no completely animal-free choice yet for the Cayenne, but this is more or less the one that comes closer to us, together with the Pepita option in this special sports package. Electric seat control here. Back part, also here, up and down, front part, and so on. And I always like this platform of the Touareg Cayenne Q7, Q8 here, because it has this kind of like this flat entry, you know, from this area to the door sill, that makes a kind of like a special atmosphere in the vehicle. Cockpit overview with screens, 12.3, 12.6, 10.9. Yeah, there's an option in the passenger screen. You can only see it when you look directly, you know, like this. From the side, it's not visible as a safety precaution for the driver. I'm still not convinced of the use of the passenger screens. However, I have to say, then the horizontal stress here with red contour stitches. Sports chrono package is even an option for the GTS. And then here have the analog chronometer. That looks always pretty fancy. And I also like this brushed dark aluminum style here as the decor element. Then we have the panic handles when we drive a little bit quicker, for example. For Lear, yes. Then the middle console, yeah, a lot of high gloss black, and this does collect a lot of scratches. You can already see it right here. This is a brand new car, but it already has scratches. And then this one here, a little bit loose. I would feel, why isn't this just a fixed lever like here to slide it open? And then 2 USB-C chargers. The inductive charging pad is now also cooled actually. And this is of course here my very favorite feature when you have the clicking sounds for the climate unit, strength and also the temperature. I like that. Just the seat heating is in this capacitive BS style. Then adaptive cup holders, 12-volt power supply cover, also once again with this plastic galvanized metal knurling around. That's pretty cool. And then this armrest, you can slide it open, some more space underneath. The only thing is here, once again, in the US version, it's fixed that it cannot slide forward. I'm not sure why they don't do that for the EU versions. Is that also cost saving? Is it cheaper to produce in that way? Because here, I mean, now I have to intentionally do that, yes. And it's also better fixed than in some of the vehicles we had before. But now imagine you have 2 elbows here, driver and co-driver or passenger side. And then you are on the brakes, rest your elbows both here. And while you're on the brakes, it goes like this. Happened to us before in the test drive. And then no problem if you have some water bottles here or something. But then imagine you have like a paper coffee cup here or something. It's full.
Matcha latte?
Or matcha latte for Leah, of course. And then both elbows here, and then it goes like this. Yeah, and then I think you'll have some work to fix this spilled coffee here, this crushed coffee, crushed iced coffee then probably all over the place. So yeah, I think they should just put the US version fix for that one. Yeah. But no problem for our viewers in the US for sure. Then here the steering wheel, once again great grip, and also nice shifting pedals here with the good feedback sound. I really like this more classic user interface here. From the driver POV here you change the drive modes, and also nice that you can change the volume here at the steering wheel with your left thumb. It's always also interesting, right? I say left thumb and then I use my right index finger because I'm holding the camera with the left thumb. And then here you can change through the different settings in the infotainment system. You can change the middle view. I like this with the big red RPM meter. Right side you can also change, and you can even change what you want to see in the head-up display, because here you can also have this view that you have an RPM meter in the head-up display actually. Infotainment system with this new main menu. If you want to change where the vents are coming from, by the way, that you have to do inside the infotainment system. The other stuff like strength and temperature is also possible from below. Always nice to check out these car settings here. You can also manually activate the exhaust note, for example, but if you activate the sport mode, you can see it comes on automatically. But overall I'm quite happy with the infotainment system. And Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, also with a wired connection or wireless, both is possible and good integration. And we're also happy with the Bose sound system. Rich in bass, I have to say, so I wouldn't put the bass up in the equalizer, just leave it as it is. Oh, she likes the bass, yeah. Rear seats, first of all the rear doors, here also with the GTS microfiber covering. It's also beautiful here with the this dark brushed aluminum style. Inside here is also covered from the inside, and then we can actually move the rear bench for more trunk space or more legroom here in a 2/3, 1/3 split. Yeah, most of the time, of course, when you have rear passengers, you need to leave them back anyway, and here to the seat as I would be driving. Some legroom left, no problem. Huge metal tunnel here, however, so of course all-wheel drive, always with a rear wheel bias, and you also have a separate climate unit here, still with the real deal, with real metal knurled controls like that. Capacitive BS controls, however, then here for the seat heating in the rear. And then when we check the headroom with 1A9, 6'2", still some headroom left. This is where the Cayenne Coupe has some more drawbacks because it has a little bit less headroom than here in the rear. This then once again good view to the wide extensive panoramic glass roof, and from here let me also show you how we open that one. because it actually opens pretty wide. Yeah, the rear passengers most of the time have even more advantages to see that actually. Only when it's open, then it's maybe a little bit more for the front and so on, but definitely pretty cool. Then here we can fold down this here. Cup holes are not adaptive though. And then the ski hash, you can also do it like from here. You have the same new pattern also on the seats. So this is where you have this structure on the side, and they are on the top then with microfiber. So yeah, very interesting new structure and ISOFIX here. These clips are to be removed, however, then yeah, you always have to ask yourself where you actually store them to put them in place later again, or you leave them out for a longer period of time or something like that. You can also change the inclination of the seat like this, more upright or then more back. So the rear seating comfort here is really good. Trunk or boot check. Of course, if you have the SUV, you're a little bit more flexible here in this height in comparison to the coupe, but it doesn't make the biggest difference. Then here, the manual rail. Let's see here, it kind of scratches against this part here always. Then the normal length is about 1 meter or 40 inches, and the width is a little bit more than 1 meter or 40 inches. Here you can lift this mat, you don't have to have it, of course. Then you can put this whole thing up. There's also space for a replacement tire underneath. This then here, the subwoofer, Bose subwoofer. And if you have the air suspension, you can also put the car here a little bit lower with the air suspension. You can even see that on camera here now as it goes lower. And you can also here put out the towing hook. That's an interesting mechanism. We haven't seen it in that way yet, sideways. Interesting, isn't it? And you can also, of course, once again, store it back in place. There you go. But then here to fold the seats, I mean, there's also a ski hitch available. That one you can also easily reach from here and do it like this. However, then to fold the seats, you have to go around and then do it from the rear compartment like this, and you can also fix them in place here. This is, by the way, this trunk splitter you can also move a little bit like this, forward and backward. In total length here, by the way, 1.85 meters, or now Leah has to help me with the inches.
72.
72, thank you. Sport Plus. That was 50 to 140. Yeah, because that 911 Turbo S here in the front blocked our way. Incredible. But maybe he's up for a race. What do you think? Yeah, I mean, this 4-liter V8 bi-turbo here has a very nice sound indeed, and this has become very rare. Yeah, of course, that's always for the inside and when you're maybe like driving freely. When you're in your garden, you know, and trying to relax, and this one is passing outside, maybe you don't find it that funny. But definitely this is something here that still pays off as for the sound. We had their discussion recently with the 911 GTS hybrid, and that was like, yeah, honestly, rather sounded like a lawnmower or something. But this one here still has a real sonorous low frequency sound. And even if you're just slightly on the throttle, oh, did you hear that? Like when you're slightly on the throttle and then suddenly release, plop, 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 plop. So this is still happening, you know, then when you let go of the throttle, that you have these plops and crackles from the exhaust then in the rear. And you also have this sport response button here. That was some 100 to 170. So you see, even in that acceleration area, of course, this 4-liter V8 is doing a great job. And here with this sport response button, you get even a little bit more boost for what was like 20 seconds. Yeah, but if you're in the Sport Plus mode already, then it's already going a gear lower and so on. So then it's already ready to attack, and yeah, you don't feel any turbo lag or something like that. At the same time, these seats here are holding you tight. They are quite firm indeed, as you might also expect from a Porsche. And I mean, we are in an SUV here, and when you go left, right, doesn't shake up at all. So we have different technologies here. First of all, the air suspension in the sports mode, Sport and Sport Plus, goes a little bit stiffer. So when we're doing a lane change here, yeah, it really feels like someone has put like a 911 just a little bit higher. That's incredible. I mean, it's like it doesn't shake up like a single or like a half degree. It just stays upright. So air suspension stiffer. And we also have this and like this negative camber in the front, taking over from Turbo GT. Also, this one was broken, or was I don't.
Yeah.
You mean the 911 Turbo? Yeah, he is like fed up now from all the guys in front of there blocking. And we also have the PDCC here, which is also then active, and this is even more, you know, keeping the car level, anti-tilt control, and this is just a phenomenal ride. Of course, when we have here some like waves, I'm not sure if you can see it on the camera, but we're like a little bit blop, 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 blop. So when you have this sporty setting, then you also feel it more, and we have 22-inch wheels mounted. So when we go to the normal mode, you directly feel in the air suspension that it's leveling everything out a little bit smoother. So long-term motorway, I would rather keep it in the normal mode. It's still super sporty, definitely, but it's just making the ride more comfortable, especially when there are some waves in the road. So that's definitely a cool thing to have. And let's just test it here when I'm in the normal mode and doing some left-right. It's actually nice, super nice, and it doesn't shake up at all either. So you don't need the sport mode for that. I actually feel that the vehicle is feeling even more, let's say, balanced and like going full circle between sportiness and comfort when you just leave it in the normal mode. Then it's such a great motorway cruiser. And you know, yes, when you drive a Porsche Panamera, for example, from the whole, you know, G-force, the G-force that are applied are of course the same in physics-wise, but they have a different effect on you. You know, when you sit lower, it's just while driving more comfortable, I always feel. But for an SUV, this is, let's say, the least drawback in the sportiness you can make an SUV feel. Just remember how heavy this vehicle and how large it is and how easy it is to direct in the handling. So from this sporty handling aspect, it's definitely one of the best SUVs out there, but one of the best performance SUVs. The lane keeping assist, by the way, has also been updated here in the facelift, all the assistance systems. Let's say they don't pay the biggest emphasis on the assistance systems because they say, hey, it's still a driver's car and so on, so they don't have like this super elaborate assistance systems and so on. But then again, you always also have to say that the lane assist itself can sometimes be a little bit annoying. But here, when you have this separate column here underneath, and then you can actually press and hold the button underneath, and then you deactivate the lane keeping assist, and then you're getting rid of that. Here, now in this S combination, beautiful. You can accelerate out of the corner. It's just amazing. So on the one hand, when you step into the vehicle, you have this grown-up SUV feeling, and on the other hand, you think like, I mean, if I would happen to cross the Nürburgring Nordschleife at some point, I'd just take on it, do 2 laps, and then leave again, relaxed. That's the cool thing about the Cayenne. There's hardly any other performance SUV that can keep up with that performance. At the same time, when you put it to the normal mode, nice crackle and flops, it's still, once again, good in comfort, and that is not easy to achieve. And here, when you're going on the motorway, switching from one to another, it's always nice to have these power reserves. Holy moly. Yeah, just this level of sophistication it delivers is extraordinary. And then when you see, there's a little bit more traffic, you just go to normal mode, relax again a little bit. And yeah, since these seats are on the one hand firm, but on the other hand, when they keep you a little bit tighter, they also keep weight of the lower lumbar area, and that also brings some comfort again. So here, let's test the adaptive cruise control. And that one, now the distance is kept to the car in front of us. And yeah, I could also say, like, click this one button again, then the lane keeping assist is active again. And sometimes I feel that's maybe the only downside. So when here you maybe want it to be more active, then it's not that sophisticated. And then again, in situations where it might annoy you, it's, you know, it does annoy you. So that's maybe the only thing I'm not super happy with. So I actually tend to deactivate the lane keeping assist and maybe just use the cruise control then for back and forth and so on to relax a little bit. And then when I want to attack again, then it's already deactivated, and that's it. That would probably be my favorite setting here. Passenger comment. It's approved
I
by
like
Leah.
it, yeah, approved.
Yeah. She likes it. She's very relaxed.
Passenger princess, thumbs
Yeah.
up.
Thumbs up from the passenger princess. That's nice. Yeah, yeah. Because again, it's really nice for long-term travel. At the same time, it does bring you that performance when you need to. Yeah. The only thing is, of course, you also get performance with other engines here with the Porsche Cayenne. The one you have here in the GTS, or then on the North American market, the Turbo GT, is the one that is also the most expensive fuel-wise. Consumption, yes, it's a high fuel consuming vehicle, some 13 liters on 1 kilometers, 80 mpg US or 22 mpg UK. Pricing, well, a base Cayenne, for example, on the US market starts at 85,000 US dollars, 125,000 US dollars for the GTS, then some spec on top. In euros, for example, the German price is 100k for the base one, then 140,000 euros for the GTS. But this vehicle, as it stands here right now with all the extras, whistles and bells and whistles, 180,000 euros. Actually the very same price than we recently had for the Panamera Hybrid. I'm not sure if you have seen this review yet, but definitely, yeah, the Porsche prices have absolutely gone through the roof. The special thing about the GTS is really that it feels kind of racetrack ready. Although it's a strong, high building SUV, it behaves like it wouldn't be an SUV, you know. But I really have to say, from the driving comfort, Panamera is definitely better, because we directly have driven it before this one here, basically jumped from the Panamera to the Cayenne. So if you wonder about this question, that goes definitely in the direction of the Panamera. This is here the Audi Q6 e-tron in a full driving review, specifically as the SQ6 e-tron, the most powerful version so far. And here was Thomas on Autogefühl, 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go with an in-depth look, also with the comparison to the Porsche Macan, sister or brother. How good is this one here in relation? And also, yeah, the Tesla Model Y, most sold EV in this world, most sold car overall in 2023. How does it relate to this one here? And does it justify the price you pay for this one? We'll find out everything together. Then here, the lamps, really slim. You can actually pick different signatures, and also when you hit the turning indicators, it looks really spectacular. Different LED levels, a low LED trim, then a higher LED trim, which is already standard here for the SQ6, and then optional the matrix LED that you also see right here. Then you have this rather closed mask, but it's kind of mimicking the gaps you had before in the combustion engine versions. The Audi rings are two-dimensional here. And usually an SQ6 would come with a bright mask around, like here, everything, but it's blacked out because this one here is carrying a black package. This vehicle color here is Daytona gray. I think it also fits the vehicle very well and will also be one of the most sold colors. Yeah, especially in Europe, in Germany, most cars are sold as gray or silver and as black. Yeah, that's the way it is. And then white and then the rest of the colors. Wheels from 19 to 21 inch. The SQ6 would start 20 inch. And these here, the biggest ones, 21 inch. Still with these aerodynamic inserts. Yeah, some comments from the background as well. Then we have the painted wheel arches, and the length is 4.77 meters or 188 inches. So there is also the Q8 e-tron, but this one here is now on a dedicated EV platform, as I said, together with the Porsche Macan, hopefully bringing us some efficiency gains and so on. Suspension technology, as we continue on to the rear, is like a more classic building style, a classic SUV form. Oh, and by the way, I need to show you this right now, the charging flap. Oh, there we go. This is electric and it takes ages, yes. AC, DC charging is an 800 volt charging infrastructure, so in that case, then you just need a little bit over 20 minutes from 10 to 80% state of charge. 270 kilowatt peak. That is very impressive, but if this charging flap really needs to be electric and it takes so long, I think a manual one would have done better, wouldn't it? Battery, by the way, 95 kilowatt hours net. Later on, we can also expect an 80 kilowatt hour net battery as a smaller, little bit cheaper entry version. So far, everything works with this battery. And if you come around to the other side, you'll see that we have a second charging flap actually on the other side. Now, sometimes you, no, maybe I have to open the car once more. There we go. Yeah. I'm not so sure about this. I mean, the great idea is that you get both sides as standard. That's the comment to that again. So, and here then on this side then only AC charging. Yeah, but it seems to be working a little bit more reliable than it did in the studio actually. Well, and then back to the vehicle, because first of all, this light strip here goes all the way across. So very cool design. You can also once again get different stylings for that. The SQ6 and also an S-Line gets here this red S badge. Then if it's an SQ6, it also has then these, you know, this S badging then here together. Acceleration figures, 4.3 seconds here for the SQ6. However, you also get the normal all-wheel drive version. That is then like 1.5 seconds slower. And there's also an entry rear-wheel drive version only. The exact figures and stuff, we have also always a pinned comment and in the video description where you always find these figures. Most German EVs do not have a frunk. Why? I don't know, but this one does have one. And that has to be the connection with Porsche, because here you can store a charging cable, or I would say even more. By the way, all versions go faster than 200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour. This one here even 230 kilometers an hour. The SQ6, so like 140 miles per hour. So definitely also fast enough for the German Autobahn. Suspension technology. Base is a frequency adaptive damping. That means it reacts according to the impact it gets, like the frequency of the impact. That's the base suspension, even for the SQ6. And then optionally you get an air suspension. When you go for that one in the SQ6, it has a sportier setup, and we will also test that for you here today. Rear axle steering, that's something that this one does not have. That one would be reserved for the Porsche Macan. Yeah, they want to have like a justification for the extra price for the Macan, that it does get some more tech features and so on. Also pretty cool, the light signatures, welcome and goodbye, front and the rear. It works for 3 times after each other when you open the vehicle. Usually it's just needed for 1 time, but after 3 times it basically has this play protection that the kids don't drain the battery with that, for example. So in the front you have this crystalline building up effect inside the headlamps. That looks really, really cool. Whereas in the rear you rather have this light strip that builds up, and then you have some more animation inside the rear lamp. And you can also set the individual settings for the signatures once again, as I told you earlier, in the infotainment system here. Now Leah is showing us 2 more exterior features. Look at that here in the lower part. There is the e-tron badge, and this is really imprinted, so you can actually feel that. And the model naming right here is in this B pillar. There you can read SQ6 e-tron Quattro. That's like the official naming for that one. So for Leah, I think with the styling, with the black features and stuff, yeah, that's probably to her liking. And another thing that Leah found out, so when you open the vehicle, of course, then there's also the turning indicator, but then there's an additional one here. When you open the door, then it goes 1 more time with the indicators there. See if it's also the case when you close the door.
I don't think so.
No. So it's like when opening the vehicle and opening the door, I think. Yeah, look at that here. Also when opening the door. Interesting. Getting to the interior, this is the key fob. It's light and also no high gloss black. I like that. Then door closing sound. That is awesome. So that is just how it's supposed to be. Double thumbs up actually for both front and rear door and inside of the doors. It's not too soft in the top part, I have to say. However, then there's a nice microfiber insert and red contour stitching here. S-Line and SQ6 are kind of similar. You have this S entry badge, but yeah, as I said, it could be S-Line or SQ8. sorry, SQ6 the same. And then here, all hard pack, just this rubber underneath that things don't fly around that easily. Then steering wheel here with a flat bottom, that looks quite cool. And at the moment, everything is shut off, and soon it will come to life. Then this will be illuminated, and also here you see this whole curved screen there, all blacked out at the moment, but this will also come to life. And then the seats, so you get base fabric seats, but in Europe only. Then you have normal sport seats, and these are the performance sport seats, and these are also available with microfiber here. So for this respect here, a nice choice. The normal sport seats I feel would be a little bit more comfortable than these here, but yeah, the seating comfort ergonomics is actually quite decent. The only thing they do not offer yet is a completely animal-free interior. The best would be in Europe, the pure fabric seat or a fabric leatherette mix. But then there are always animal parts in this vehicle here, and in a modern EV 2024 needs to find also an animal-friendly solution, definitely. And in here, 1.89 meters, a lot of headroom left, and the steering wheel, when I turn on the ignition, or when I, sometimes when you just sit down or use the brake, you can see here, steering wheel can be adjusted up and down, in and out, and there you can see now also these sliders are illuminated. You can slide it, hashtag capacitive BS, but when you click it, at least, you also get a nice feedback. Cockpit perspective, here more microfiber on this dashboard, and then on the top part is also soft touch. Then we can get an optional passenger screen, otherwise it would be high gloss black everything here. I always ask myself, why would that be necessary? I don't understand it, but I got some comments from some users that say when you pick something like in a navigation system, then the passenger sends it to the main screen or something like that. I always feel that passengers rather use their own smartphone to research like a restaurant nearby or something, but yeah, I don't know, you tell me. Then the screen unit here, there's like a 14.5-inch unit on the right side and a 12-inch unit on the left side. Zoom modules to that. In the lower part, middle console, 2 USB-C charger. Then there's like a smoker's pack here in the front part. Yeah, maybe not the best idea for such a new vehicle then for the resale value. And then here is an inactive charging pad. Sometimes it does lose contact, I feel. But the good thing is it is cooled, so the phone does not overheat. Then here you can close this one here for a lot of high gloss black. That does collect some fingerprints. Then you slide it open, and then adaptive cup holders here. And drive select, you click it. And then you either can click the drive modes through like this, or you can click once and then select it with your hand. So both is possible. You select the gears like this, D and R or P, and then this one here, the armrest, you can put that one up, then you have a lot of space underneath actually. There's even the first aid kit is hidden underneath here, so yeah, actually why not? And this is your driver POV here with the 2-dimensional Audi rings on the steering wheel. You get used to that. However, I like it more when I really can touch the Audi rings. Digital instruments, here when I put in a gear, you can see them even better. And then you can switch the view to a more simplified view or more information there. Also, what information you want to see there. So they are actually quite flexible, and the speed is usually then there in the lower part. And here you can set this favorite button actually to, for example, the function to deactivate this speed limit warning, so this is a good thing then for EU customers. You also get a head-up display here with some augmented reality arrows. Hard to catch on camera, they appear full-time, definitely. You might remember Tesla is offering these gaming features where you can actually turn the steering wheel inside a card game, which is on the display. Audi offers gaming via the head-up display. You activate like a space shuttle game, for example, or a 3D squash. Starting with the space shuttle. You see it here in the head-up display, there's this space shuttle, and then you use the shifting pedals and the accelerator pedal or the brake pedal to change, to maneuver that through. It's kind of funny. Is it much useful or much fun? I'm not sure about that, but yeah, they're trying to be a little bit more joyful with that. And then you can also use this 3D squash. There you have this cage, and is some kind of ping pong game. Once again, you use your shifting pedals for right and left, and then the throttle or the brake for up and down to put that ball over to the other side. And then here in the infotainment system, it is actually quite quick and responsive. Looks quite cool. The climate unit sometimes did me some hassle because I was doing something in the climate unit, and then I want to access the menu, and sometimes, yeah, like this, that's how it's supposed to work. But sometimes I clicked on the menu and it just didn't appear. And I have no idea why. So maybe they need to work a little bit more on the software. But it's something completely new indeed here. You have the chord keys right there. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto is of course also available here, wired or wireless, so both is available. So they stepped up the game here, although we had some problems with it, but overall definitely better than before. And then let's see if I put in Barcelona as a destination. So this would not be suitable here without charging. There, for example, here now in 256 kilometers, I should reload from 19 to 81%, and that's obviously it. Rear seats. Here you can see manual shade. Then this is here on the top part. What is it? It's not. Is it somewhat soft, but barely, I would say. Then here the microfiber insert. However, I have to say the microfiber quality I've seen better. There are different suppliers for microfiber, of course. And then here inside of the doors is also all hard pack. So for that price, I'm not so sure about that. Then here we also have the microfiber insert. The quality here on the seats is very good, actually, of the microfiber. And Isofix here with these covers, you can just push back that way. And then, yeah, legroom wise, I mean, it's an electric platform, but why is there hardly any legroom? I mean, it's not a short vehicle, so this is disappointing. It does fit for 4 toy adults, but barely. And always when I say barely, I always have to think of bears, you know, like bears, animal bears, you know, like barely. You know. Sorry about that. Okay. Here, 189 or 6 for 2. It's always like, you know, in general, you know, like with general, okay. I just keep doing the, yeah, you know what I mean. Okay. So not too much space here, but headroom is okay. Then it's here like the adaptive cup holders. There we go. And we can also use this one here as a ski hatch to just load the middle stuff through. The seating comfort itself here on the rear seats, that one is actually pretty good when you are okay with this not so much space. And in the middle part here, 5th seat, it's a little bit stiffer. It works, but then yeah, the legroom is definitely the main problem. Different ways to open the electric hatch here. For example, also pressing twice here on the key fob. Then 530 liters up to 1,530 liters. This cover here is purely manual. Then there's a meter or 40 inches in width, and the length here is also a meter or 40 inches. I don't need to extend it actually. And here there's like the 77 centimeters or 30 inches. So yeah, well usable, not too large. You can see there's this step here, kind of it raises towards the inside, and then we can also fold the seats from here. It's good that we have this remote release. There we go. And then you see this step here once again. So this can be made flatter basically. And then here there's another storage also for several cables if you don't want to store them in the front, or some there, some here. And if you have the air suspension, you can also lower the whole thing here for an easier loading in and out. Then you can see that the air suspension then compresses here in the lower part a little bit. Drive select, dynamic. Let's go. Woo! That was 30 kilometers an hour to 100 kilometers an hour. Really quick here with the Audi SQ6. So then the most performant version here of this new large electric SUV by Audi. The official acceleration figure from 0 to 100 is 4.3 seconds actually. 4.3 seconds.
Ich habe das leider nicht verstanden. Kannst du das bitte wiederholen?
So that is when you...
Das habe ich leider immer noch nicht verstanden. Schau doch gern nach möglichen Sprachkommandos unter dem Reiter Hilfe in meinen Einstellungen.
Are you finished? Thank you. Back to our...
She's German.
Yeah. Totally German, yeah. Yeah, that's always when you mention the brand name, and then, you know, it catches the activation word, and then, you know, with the voice recognition, but it always gives you the giggles and the laugh for that, definitely, for sure. One major thing they want to achieve here with this vehicle is that it feels lighter than it actually is, because it is a heavy electric vehicle. These battery packs add a lot of weight. And one of the measures is here, when you turn the steering wheel actually, there's a fine command even if you're on these low degree angle, areas. So you don't have to turn the steering wheel much. And the reason for that is mainly that a small vehicle usually reacts a little bit quicker to what you do with it, and that kind of conveys this feeling. So a very progressive steering, you don't have to steer a lot. At the same time, it's not super aggressive that you don't manage a lane change or something. So when I'm here doing a lane change, for example, landing here, I can still very well control it and not, overdo it or something. Let's see from driving modes. This is here dynamic mode. Pick the drive selecting. I can do it here in the infotainment, but yeah, though this is way lighter. So this makes a big difference indeed than dynamic mode. You also heard it was rather silent on the interior. The only thing you probably heard were all lunch bags there back in the trunk. I put them in the trunk because yeah, I was I was expecting that. That's why I put it in the trunk and the cover closed. But yeah, you still hear them, especially in the electric vehicles when you don't have the rest of like an engine sound or something like that. Here on the motorway, you would rather keep it in the balance setting. And then also, it's a great noise insulation, really. Super silent in here. That is excellent. So
now I can sleep.
yeah, I mean, you feel like this, silence from the electric drivetrain, and then the great insulation of the windows. I mean, we're driving 80 kilometers an hour, like 50 miles an hour. We're on the motorway, and it doesn't even feel like we're being on the motorway. I mean, yeah, for a German customer here, you might say, like, this is no motorway, this is no Autobahn. Yeah, because I was yesterday on the Autobahn with a petrol 6-cylinder from Audi, and was driving like 180 kilometers an hour. So there's a very good comparison then, how that feels like. And this here feels super, super, super smooth. And this is also something in comparison to the Porsche Macan. Although we have here the 21-inch wheels mounted, the biggest ones available, even optional for the SQ6, 20 to 21 inch, the normal Q6, 19 to 21 inch. And also here in the SQ6 we have a sportier setup of the air suspension. The air suspension, even an option for the SQ6, but then with a sportier setup. But if we then compare the Porsche Macan to it, I mean, they are on the same platform and they are on the technological side more or less the same vehicle really. But they really feel way different than I would have expected, even here in the SQ6 trim. So the Audi is way more on the comfortable side, and although it has this performance, it is so much better in the driving comfort. Yeah, that's nice here, and then the red siding. It's always good to see in the tunnel, especially when we have these driving. This was the blind spot monitor because the car was on the other lane before, then it switched. Yeah, especially good to see it in the tunnel then, because it doesn't seem to be on all the time. It seems to be connected to the daytime running sensor, but we have to check in the infotainment if you can also change that. Yeah, so back to the Macan comparison, SQ6. Here, I feel like, yes, I have the power, but I'm rather using it for the stuff that cars are usually being used for, like, being smooth, motorway, on city traffic, and so on. And with the Macan, I felt like I need to attack this all the time. At the same time, you lose comfort, And I think it's okay, because then you have the different brand positioning, because it's always tricky when cars are on the technological side basically identical. How can you differentiate them? Like we found out here, the Audi is the cruiser. It is the more, like logical vehicle in that sense. The Macan more has these racing genes. And of course, for 99% of all customers, this setup here makes so much more sense. Plus, you save at least 10,000 euros or dollars in the entry price. But if you spec the vehicle, the difference between the Macan and the Q6 will be rather like 30, 40, 50,000 euros. So huge difference. So if you ask me, I mean, you do have the performance here, and also, like going left and right. I don't see any reason to go for the Macan unless you say, like, I want to lose comfort. You know what I mean? Yes, it feels sportier, but I think that's actually a problem for Porsche, So the more logical choice is definitely the Q6 e-tron. and the Porsche you would mainly go for the brand, like for the badge. That's just how I can comment on that. And I feel like one of the main findings is this very relaxing drive here. You know, these seats here, I talked about them earlier. These are the like the sports performance seats. The microfiber seating service is good. That's the good part about it. If you stick with the base sport seats, I feel they might also add some more comfort, because here with Audi, usually the sportier you go in the seat, the stiffer the bolstering itself is. But overall, so far, it's actually quite fine. Yeah, next to the aspect that they need to show us animal-free interiors, which Audi is still ignoring for most models. Yeah, so that's something they need to work on. But I'm really very positively surprised how smooth it feels here on the Autobahn. I could just go on for miles and miles and miles, and it will of course even be interesting, A, what will be the final consumption, and also how agile it will drive. And before we leave the motorway, here the assistance systems. So let's just, leave the hands here. I'm supposed to keep him on the steering wheel, but just to show you how the car is following that bend here on the motorway in a very smooth way, very elaborated. We already heard the blind spot monitor. That's pretty cool. When I'm on the brakes, by the way, so the base recuperation is set rather to rolling. You can also go here to the B mode. Then you have very strong recuperation if you like that. So it depends on which driving mode you just prefer. Other than that, you use your brake pedal to do the recuperation. And this is also really strong, up to 220 kilowatt. It can recuperate via these two electric motors. First, there's recuperation via the rear electric motor. Then when this is all used, then also via the front one. So the rear one reacts first. And then the rear braking power is applied. So in 90% of all situations, you will use the recuperation and not the rear brakes. And am I feeling that? Actually, no. And this is also a great accomplishment. You do not feel the difference when you are using the recuperation, when you're using the brakes. And this is one of the main challenges when designing electric vehicles and talking about the braking performance. And that means you can sometimes even recharge the car quicker, basically going down the hill than putting in the plug. It's also definitely a very fun fact. And this is a very good example here. This motorway is bending quite a lot. So that's a funny thing, that the top speed in Spain on the motorways is not really high in comparison to Germany. But when it is so narrow and that curvy in Germany, then in Germany the speed would be way lower. Funny, isn't it? And here, for example, no matter in which driving mode you actually are, here, even balanced or dynamic, here I have a little bit more feedback. I've also now deactivated the lane keeping assist to have a more natural driving feeling. That helps a lot, definitely, because when the lane assist is activated, then it tends to interfere, when you're doing some agile driving maneuvers and so on. But then when you deactivate it, which you can also do here with your left thumb, so you can either here press here, then with or without, like the adaptive driving system, with or without lane keeping, and if you press and hold, then it actually disappears completely, and then you can, steer this one way better, and it's so much fun because you really feel how smooth it goes in every corner. Easy Sport, launch control. Woo! Yeah, that was 0 to 100 kilometers an hour. That was even more fierce. So I was in dynamic mode, plus then, it's an electric vehicle. Also, you get here to the ESC Sport, so the stability control is drawn back a little bit, and then you can activate the launch control. One foot on the brake, one on the throttle. Of course, not meant to use it on public roads. Yeah, that one is really something. So, it doesn't look that much high performance on the outside, maybe even not that much like the Porsche Macan or something, but this is very much performance alike indeed.
It's enough.
Yeah, that's way more than enough indeed. Important is when you also do like some nice cornering, or also then when you want to drive a little bit faster on cornery motorways. I made the experience now once again that it's really important to deactivate that lane keeping assist, because it interferes quite a lot. So you don't have to do anything steering wise usually. But when you want to steer yourself, you really have to like here, click and hold here on the left store column, that you completely deactivate the lane assist, and then you can freely steer how you like. So this is really very, very important in that respect. Pricing, we have the German ones for the reference, is just under 70,000 euros for the rear-wheel drive version, only 75,000 euros for the all-wheel drive version, and an SQ6 94,000 euros. As it stands here right now, easily like 120k or something like that, so not cheap at all. However, way cheaper indeed, especially a configured one than a Porsche Macan. So it's really like Porsche Macan, a fully spec'd turbo or something. You can also get like 150, 160 or something. Then this is cheap in comparison, but then again, if you compare a Tesla Model Y, this is again then half the price than this one. Yeah, so these are the price relations. Then as for the economy, consumption, real-world range, we could score some 20 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers today, so that's a little bit more than 3 miles per kilowatt hour, with predominantly motorway 100, 120 kilometers an hour, so like 60, 70 miles per hour, and some city driving, so a realistic mix indeed. So it's not the most astonishing figure, but actually quite good considering also this size here, and definitely way better than it was with the Q8 e-tron, so to speak, the predecessor of this one. Means a real-world range of around 460 kilometers or 290 miles. What do you think about this? Leave me in the comments. The all-new Porsche Macan is electric, and here on Autogefühl with Thomas in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go with the Macan EV, all the details you need to know, and today we are also gonna drive it. Yeah, the electric thunder from Stuttgart, Germany. In the front we can see this 4-dot design for the headlamps, and this is a papaya color here, so very colorful indeed. And one of the special features, which are really helpful actually, is already here in the front, because to open the front you just need to slide here underneath the Porsche logo, and then it opens super easy. Don't have to unlock anything. 80 liters is the front. You have a separate split here for, you know, whatever, or maybe like here this emergency equipment also on. And the alternative would be, it's also quite nice, also looks beautiful when it's starting to rain, like with the drops on the car, even if it's not so pleasant for us, right? So here on the car key, you also have a separate button, we know it from Porsche, and it directly opens as well. And once again, no need to separately unlock it. This is of course very practical to store your charging cables then here. The length is 4.78 meters or 188 inches. So more or less the same size as before, a little bit longer. Wheels from 20 to 22 inch. These are the special largest 22-inch wheels, very impressive. And we'll check out later how it is in the driving comfort. This is the Macan Turbo as well, so best performance action. 3.3 seconds is the acceleration figure. The Macan 4, normal all-wheel drive model, would be 5.2 seconds. A rear-wheel drive version only is to come later. Also shares the platform here with the Audi Q6 e-tron. Recently also shown that to you. By the way, here we have these black wheel arches in the high gloss black. Standard would be that you have the more matte plastic crossover wheel arches. Well, now we had to find some shelter because that storm has been picking up massively. Oh my God, there's even hail coming. So yeah, short break and then we'll continue for you. So this area right here is where the Macan EV looks so different from the combustion engine model, which is, by the way, in Northern America, still available. Maybe 1 or 2 years or something, not for too long. In Europe, you can even not order the combustion engine anymore. So it's all about then the EV version here. Why is that, by the way? Because the combustion engine version does not comply with data security laws anymore. And it would have been too costly for Porsche, they say, to upgrade that. Audi has upgraded that with the Audi Q5, the sister model. Well, Porsche obviously did not. But so far, the first pre-orders for the Macan EV look very promising, they say actually. So we have to see if they can actually compensate for the lack of the combustion engine sales for them then. Porsche usually never touches the logo in its design form and the colors. However, here the turbo models now get this darkened out Porsche badge, so they allow that kind of now. And the top speed here for the Macan Turbo is 260 kilometers an hour or 160 miles an hour. That's even more than enough for the German Autobahn. However, you have to think about that the electric vehicles, when you drive them high speed, then of course the range will drop down significantly. The Macan 4, the normal all-wheel drive model, is, by the way, a little bit lower in the top speed. That one at 220 kilometers an hour or 140 miles an hour. And on the technology side, you also get an optional rear axle steering up to 5 degrees. It goes in the opposite direction in the front wheels, massively reducing the turning circle. And suspension technology-wise, the turbo always comes with air suspension, adaptive air suspension, also gets stiffer in sport mode, softer than in the comfort mode. And on the Northern American market, this air suspension is always standard. In Europe, for example, the Macan 4 comes with the standard suspension, optional standard suspension with PASM, so it's an adaptive but not the air suspension yet. And the third step then is the air suspension. So it's always a market decision what they include in the standard equipment and what not actually. Then about battery and charging. 95 kilowatt hours net is this battery, and this will give us, to the first estimation, up to 500 kilometers, 300 miles of range. Of course, later on we'll test drive this one here, the turbo also with its maximum peak of 640 horsepower, and then see about the realistic consumption figure. Recharging is a very cool thing actually here. Charging flap, this is here on the driver's side, and you just hold your hand there and then it opens as a sensor. 11 kilowatt AC charging, later also 22 kilowatt available. DC charging has a 270 kilowatt peak. And if you close the vehicle, by the way, also then here the charging flap closes again. 21 minutes, 10 to 80% state of charge. That's massive here, 800 volt architecture. So it's one of the quickest charging EVs out there. Standard also a second charging flap here on the passenger side. This is actually cool, and then also with the sensor here, and passenger side is then AC charging only, and only one charging flap can be opened at times, so you cannot open them both at the same time. And yeah, sometimes there were these questions, can I have even more charging power when I plug a cable in from both sides? That's unfortunately not possible. This electric charging flap here, by the way, is an option. Otherwise, it would be one that is having this standard opening like a normal fuel cap. And pretty cool always to see. You can extend the spoiler from the interior, that is possible, and also retract it again if you want to show off to your friends. Usually that's done automatically when the car is driving at a faster speed, that you have a little bit more downforce there in the rear. And should you wonder, is there actually really no possibility for a rear wiper? Well, there is one optionally available, not just spec with this vehicle. Let's check out the turning indicators. Look at these here. They don't replace the daytime running light. They're underneath. That's even more interesting, right? And then you have, for a split second, an 8-element design. So, pretty cool, right? In the rear, really slim, very long. I like that. So I really have to say, design-wise, all the little detail, all the little elements, I just love it. The only thing I have somewhat of a problem with is that this very short overhang, there I found the combustion engine a little bit more beautiful, like the combustion engine Macan. What do you think? The trunk here, 540 liter or 480 liters for the Macan Turbo. Now, why would a Macan Turbo has less trunk space? We'll find out right now. First of all, there are cool features for opening and closing. Here, first of all, you're like, where am I supposed to press here? You know that the Macan so far had here in the rear wiper, had this button here. Yeah, that's gone actually, but then the button is here. There's like the small camera, and then you have the button right here to press. So this is then possibility number one. And then to close it again right here. By the way, when it's raining, it's kind of like rinsing down here when there was a lot of rain. And then it's actually falling into the trunk here, the raindrops. So that happened actually right now. Oh, and here, by the way, the vehicle is also gathering water. So on the side of the front here, left and right each. That's a lot, right? So then, I also can check out the child safety. That's good. That's very sensitive indeed. So, and the second thing is, because they thought about how can we make opening and closing the boot even easier, and then they did some prototype testing, and sometimes maybe you have a DC cable you want to put on that side, but it's then on here. Then when you're having like cable action underneath the vehicle, sometimes these swiping gestures, they make the trunk close on your head when you stand here, have your feet underneath there. So they said, we don't do any swiping gestures underneath. However, here the risk, of course, a little bit lower because you have 2 charging ports. But then anyway, they went here for a kicking sensor that you kick here, like where the sensor is also the exterior sensor. Then you kick here underneath. Now you don't have to hit the car, of course. Then it opens, and then it has the second feature. So let's say you want to take out very heavy things, or maybe have like in both hands something, and then you want to go back again. Then you can kick it again. This is also supposed to have like a short sound coming. Maybe does it now? Let's see. No, maybe again. So let's see. So you kick it here. They heard the sound, and when you heard the sound, then you move away from the vehicle, and then the trunk is closing automatically, so you don't have to put the things away first, maybe in the mud or something. And that's a very cool feature, actually. So yeah, they really thought about it. And yeah, maybe it's not about the charging cable, but to me it really happened a lot of times already that I was putting something in the trunk, like here, and my feet were underneath here, and then the swiping gesture was activated because my feet were underneath the trunk here, and I was doing like this, and then it closed on my head like so. That's happening. Does not happen here for the Macan, because these sensors here also detect if you are standing there, and if you're standing here, the trunk will not close on you. Cool thing, right? The width here is easy 1.40 meters, and then the length here is about 90 centimeters or 35 inches. So we were talking about the Macan Turbo and why it has less liter of luggage space. And the secret revealing is here underneath, because you have some space underneath usually, unless you go for this Burmester sound system with the subwoofer, which is standard for the Turbo. So if you go for the Macan 4 but get the same sound system with the subwoofer, then again you also only get the 480 liters, because they count the liter figures from underneath. Folding the seats, you can do it from here, from the trunk. That's a cool thing, actually. There we go. That they really fold flat. So I did it now. You have to move the seats a little bit forward and then move them backward again. Otherwise, the rear bench would hit the forward seats. But overall, I think trunk-wise and so on, with these solutions, yeah, it's actually quite flexible. I like that. Oh, and by the way, about towing, first of all, here, this side panel is a little bit loose. So when I press this button here, the whole thing goes in. That's not that good. However, what is good, that here, when I press this one, there's a towing hook available even. It's like half automatic, I would say. And it can indeed tow up to 2 tons, which is already kind of significant for an electric vehicle. This is the key fob, beautiful, and also here is a different material than in the front. You can also get individualized ones in your vehicle color, by the way. And then the door closing sound is frameless, by the way, and dual insulation, both in the front and in the rear. Yeah, I would say it's okay, considering it's frameless, it's still quite decent. Then inside of the doors, nice ambient lighting integration. Here in this case then carbon fiber inlets. However, here hard plastic without any felt covering, just a little bit rubber ground there. But come on, for this price, this needs to be covered in felt, I feel. Macan Turbo entry badge in the lower part. And in this case, an all black interior. I would say, take a seat, young Skywalker. Head restraint adjustment, by the way, here. Back and forth. So yeah, why not? It's an easy solution and also feels kind of stable. Cockpit clean, a lot of straight lines, also nice ambient lighting integration here. 2 11-inch screens. The passenger screen on the right side is an option, and while driving can only be seen from the passenger. Soon more details to that. Curved instruments here. Yeah, the steering wheel does block always a part of it, and the steering wheel itself, sporty as we know it from Porsche, also here with the darkened out Porsche logo here in the Turbo. But I still have, for example, like a volume jog at the steering wheel. Also here this drive mode selector, easy to control for normal, sports and sport plus and so on. And then you have this flying middle console right here with more space underneath. Cup holders, adaptive, also with illumination. And my favorite, real climate unit, clicking sounds and so on. That's awesome. In the front, you slide open in an inductive charging pad, which is also cooled. And if you want to charge with the cable, you could also put the cable like from the lower part to the upper part. There's a special hole for that one. But yeah, when the inductive charging pad is cooled, it's actually also cool to use. You got that one? Okay, it was a little bit flat maybe. Then here, the middle armrest, put it up, even more space underneath. And the seating comfort in general is actually quite decent. The only catch is that here for the turbo, there's no alternative to animal skin. Whereas for the normal Macan, the Macan 4, there you also have a completely animal-free interior, also with the animal-free steering wheel. And I would recommend that one, more animal-friendly and also more comfortable because it adapts more to the body, the whole surface from that. Here, without the panoramic roof, with 189, 6'2", still leaves a lot of headroom left. And, well, there is a panoramic roof available if you want one. And here's the gear selector. And look at that optional passenger screen. In park mode, I can also see it. When I put in drive mode, it's gone. But just for me, Leah could still see it from her perspective. Just not me. Here, when I'm in park mode again, it appears, disappears in driving, not to distract anyone. There you can see this effect coming over to the passenger side. Then there it is. The infotainment has this main menu, and especially exciting are always the driving selections here. So you can activate the electric sports on or deactivate it if you want this additional sound actuator. And here, yeah, that's what I did initially from the outside. Always fun to deploy the spoiler. Of course, it does it automatically at higher speeds. The head-up display appears quite large, also very crisp, but just in a very specific view angle. Like here, like this, it's super crisp. But when I just move a little bit more like downward or sidewards, it feels like it's kind of blurry on one of the eyes. So you really need to hit the exact angle that it's sharp. So yeah, I've seen head-up displays which are more forgiving in the angle you're watching it. What I also like is here this manual volume jog in the central console. And seat heating is also in a separate field, but to have it, you see here, you move that whole thing here. But it's interesting that it's, let's see here, it moves as a complete button, and then this individual field is activated. Yeah, and high gloss black also collects a lot of scratches and fingerprints and so on, but yeah, as long as we have the metal knurling here, I'm still happy. Rear doors also frameless. Nice here from the build quality from the handles. However, then on the inside here, all hard pack. At that price point, doubtful in that very detail. Then, well, as I'm driving, it's not too much legroom left here, I have to say. The seats are quite voluminous. It works here for a tall adult to drive behind a tall adult, but considering it's an electric vehicle and they should use more of that space and the wheelbase is longer than in the standard Macan, I think there should be more legroom. Headroom is, however, no problem with 189 or 6'2". And, well, the comfort from the base ergonomics here is also okay, but again, there's not much space here. So for the whole family and so on, maybe not ideal. Fold down this one here, then there are adaptive cup holders. That is very good from the build quality here, very solid and everything. This also, have you heard that? When you're on the boat and close something. And in the lower part, 2 USB-C chargers. And here, that is amazing once again. Clicking sounds, metal knurling, climate unit also for the rear passengers. Launch control. Oop, that was 100, like 99. Whoa. Was that even 3 seconds? And that was even, yeah, you know that Porsche sometimes underestimates the acceleration figures. I think that's what happened here. I mean, that was
1 second.
And then, yeah, it more felt like 2 seconds, like in a Taycan Turbo GT or in a Model S Plaid. I mean, and this was even slightly uphill. Yeah, that's some crazy stuff, definitely. And you maybe also heard it. I turned this generated sound on. You know, feel that, hear that also. It's subtle, it's not too pronounced. You do have some kind of feedback. Yeah, the Leah meter also went off the scale for sure. Yeah, it's very extreme, especially for the passenger when you don't have like this combustion engine growling when you accelerate. So in the electric vehicles, it feels more extreme in a way. The combustion engines, like the sound is more extreme in a way, but then you also prepare your body for that a little bit better. But I mean, yeah, with the sound, you can turn it off at any stage if you like. It's also interesting that by standard, it's deactivated, and then even when you switch the driving modes, it gets deactivated, and then you turn it on or off again. So at the moment here, it's off. In the Sport Plus mode, I also have, oh my God, It's absolutely crazy how it accelerated out of the corner and it hooks to the road that well. Yeah, obviously you've seen we waited another day to get more, like, better weather for this driving part here. It's absolutely crazy. So the big first question is, of course, how is it in comparison to the combustion engine model? And you know, I've driven all the version, Macan, Macan T, Macan S, Macan GTS, Macan Turbo, when it was still available. And you really have to say, just from a pure driving performance aspect here, especially the Macan Turbo, just tops everything in the Macan range. That's for sure. Yes, you might argue that the combustion engine sound then, after the six-cylinder, is more emotional. Yes, that's also true. But from pure driving performance, how it hooks up to the road, how the power is distributed, how the performance is there, how quickly it goes out of the corners. I mean, is here like when you have a tight corner, you can basically pin down the pedal and accelerate out while you are still in the corner. And that's like, no, I mean, usually you decelerate into the corner, keep a steady speed, and then when it's going straight, you know, or about to get straight, you accelerate out. That's usually also performing on the racetrack. But here, you really feel that while you're still in the corner, you can just pin it down and it's there. It's absolutely, yeah, you see how crazy it is. So suspension is absolutely tuned on a sporty note. Do you notice that this is here an air suspension? Not at all. Not a single bit. I mean, when I would take a seat in this vehicle, drive it, I don't know anything about the suspension specifics. Now also two Macans coming, they're doing car-to-car filming. So would anyone ask me what suspension is it? I would not say it's an air suspension because it's tuned so stiff. I really have to say though, is that the sense of an air suspension? I think rather not. The air suspension should give you more comfort. You have to know, if you seek also like a comfortable family SUV, not a good choice. If you seek the most dynamic, sportiest one in this segment here, just come for a standstill here because I want to give some space to the car in front of us that we can drive a little bit quicker again, because it happens so quick that we catch up to the vehicles in front of us. It's absolutely crazy. So if this car passed. So the thing is really, oh, there's a beautiful landscape here, southern France. This is sportiness, period. You know, the handling is incredible. So I really have to say, like, best EV SUV in the handling and also in performance. Wow, and at the same time, you are in control so much. Oh, that was interesting. I thought someone is behind me because the rear wing was going up and then the sun was reflecting in the rear wing, and I was thinking someone is giving me the lights from the rear. I have to take that into account. Yeah, so you're in perfect control. It feels like a way shorter vehicle. I mean, we're here at 4.78 meters or 188 inches, and it feels like I would be driving a compact hatch, and that does not happen with the combustion engine Macan. At the same time, what's really interesting now is, if you compare the combustion engine Macan to this one, due to the steering, the whole setup here, and you still get the Macan feeling. So if you drive slowly, you would say, yeah, I'm driving a Macan. So you don't have to switch in a way when you are existing Macan ICE customer. It more or less feels the same, especially when you're driving a little bit calmer. But as soon as you accelerate it out and drive it in a more extreme way, it feels like a completely different vehicle, and in a better performance sense, definitely. By the way, if we go away from that Sport Plus mode, go into the normal mode, of course the suspension is a little bit softer then, also the steering is a little bit softer. It does require some work always. It's really precise. I do personally like it. Leah already told me earlier she prefers it when the steering is a little bit softer, doesn't need so much force. I don't know if that's maybe a male thing or something, because I usually prefer it when, it gives a little bit more feedback. Leah rather prefers it when it's easier to steer. So I found it really perfect. Also, like how much degree angle I need. Here, for example, look at that. Now it's like almost 90 degrees. And the same way I turn the steering, that's what I really love. That's awesome. Wow. So that's really the thing. The performance is absolutely amazing. But then again, when you are not thinking of agile driving, when you're thinking of, hey, I want to drive it in everyday life, where I live, there are also some destroyed roads and so on. Yeah, this guy is always the only thing, I better leave this Macan pass. I have a parking spot here, watch that. So when you think about everyday driving, like here also over these humps, it's not sporty, it's stiff, it's rough. The suspension is rough, you know, and you know, there are always a lot of other, car journalists out there. When they drive a Porsche, they will only tell you it's the best thing ever, best, this is best, and they're all blown away by everything. But I already try to differentiate that you know what you're getting into. And like I said, the performance is absolutely astonishing, but I would not buy it when I also want to have something comfortable. Even here, the air suspension, it does not give you both. Some vehicles give you both sportiness and comfort. This one does not. It does not give you comfort. It gives you sportiness, definitely. And I mean, this is the normal mode. And wow, we recently drew. Oh, doggo. Okay, careful. That's Thomas dog mode. When I see a dog on the street, it's like full brake, maximum distance, silence. That's of course a little bit better here when I'm driving the electric vehicles, that we don't, annoy their ears, because they can hear that well. So here go back to the Sport Plus again. So even if the stability systems are drawn back here a little bit, it still gives you so much agility, you know. So I rarely had that I'm driving such a heavy vehicle and I felt so much in control all the time. What a beautiful tree there as well. Wow. So now going downhill, I'm talking about recuperation. There is not a strong recuperation when you lift your foot off the throttle. It's not their philosophy. So there's no one pedal driving at all. You do the recuperation with the brake pedal, period. That's, how everything is set up here. Which is, again, I think my point, that they try to make the transition from the Macan combustion engine customer as easy as possible, because that, again, accounts for that feeling. You can switch from normal Macan to this one and say, like, yeah, it's still my Macan. But then you're definitely blown away by that performance. And I can already tell you right now, yes, the turbo is here the pinnacle, but this 5.2 seconds of the Macan 4 will definitely be enough. And yeah, I'm already in talks with the Porsche guys about that they also offer the animal-free interior for the Macan turbo. And I guess they will change it at some point as well, because at this moment this would of course be a major reason also to go for the Macan 4, that you can also get this more comfortable animal-free interior. And of course care about the animal aspect as well. Also going downhill, because the weight now is pushing me in the corner, but still, sometimes I have these electric vehicles where I think, yeah, it's enough of weight, come on. Yeah, here now maybe you feel, when it's getting tighter and then all the weight is pushing. But still, yeah, they're doing everything they can to counter that feeling. What else can you do for more comfort? These are here the 22-inch wheels. And you can stick with the 20-inch wheels, then you also gain more comfort. So at this moment, probably my best configuration would be a Macan 4, animal-free interior, 20-inch wheels, and then you still have comfort, because what I'm doing here right now is amazing to experience, but most customers of the Macan EV will 90% of the time not do this, but straight motorway, in the city and so on, and then the comfort aspect is even more important, and you still have enough of sportiness left then. Yeah. At the end of the driving part, by the way, because here topography changes are no problem for EVs as for the consumption, we'll also give you an extended update about our final concise test consumption for today. Pricing on the Northern American market, so the US, around $80,000 for the Macan 4, $105,000 for the Macan Turbo. German prices, European prices in euro. The standard Macan 4 at the moment, 85,000 euros, 115,000 euros here for the Macan Turbo. However, without extra equipment. The vehicle, as it stands here right now, 140,000 euros. That's of course super expensive. Yes, the performance in charging and so on, all the EV facts are actually very decent. However, you also have to think about what other vehicles you could get for a much lower price, but that's not specific to the Macan EV, but in general, of course, to Porsche. Yeah, and so quickly the weather can change from one day to another actually. After driving, what could we score on our test loop, which included launch control, acceleration, a lot of topography changes, of course not an overall high-speed average, so longer way motorway, German Autobahn, high speed we will do at a later stage again with this vehicle, but on our test loop, which would be a test loop that we would have done with a combustion engine Macan, for example. Here we could score some 19 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers, which is quite decent. That's 3.3 miles per kilowatt hour, and that means exactly the estimation figure from earlier, 500 kilometers or 300 miles of real-world range. Yeah, I think you can live with that, considering also that battery size. Question is just, do you like the new Macan EV? Or would you rather tend to go with the sibling, the Audi Q8 e-tron, or for that price, buy 3 Tesla Model Y?
And now to our conclusion for today. First of all, Audi A7 versus Porsche Panamera. So they are indeed on a separate platform. The Porsche Panamera has the same platform like the Bentley Continental. That's very interesting. And yeah, on the one hand, they are similar because they're both GTs or Grand Tourers, and they are really good in sporty driving, but at the same time also good on the motorway. In general, the seating comfort is better in the A7. In the Porsche Panamera, you really have to be sure to pick these retro fabric seats because they bring so much more comfort in comparison to the animal skin seats in the Porsche Panamera. So that is a crucial thing, and then it's also good motorway rider. The thing is that the Panamera GTS has less noise deadening, so I would not get the GTS version, but the normal Panamera, like the normal V6 or maybe the plug-in hybrid if you need that one for the tax savings, if you get it as a company car or something like that. So that would be a crucial thing, I feel. And with the Audi, yeah, of course the RS7 is the most expensive one. I would actually see if I can get a better price performance deal, for example with the S7 in the North American market, because there you get the S7 with the 6-cylinder. In Europe it was not possible. There the S models had the diesel, but there, for example, the A7 3-liter 6-cylinder without the S badge is actually a very nice choice. So between these two, honestly, I would like to get both. So the Panamera is my favorite Porsche at this moment, and also the A7 next to the A5 convertible is my favorite Audi at this moment. So this is a very tough choice. I love both actually. With the Audi Q8 and the Porsche Cayenne, they are both on the same platform and they are more similar than most think. So I think the riding is really coming very close, and it's more a question of which exact model do we have. It's really astonishing that we've been driving the Audi RSQ8 on the racetrack. We did that also with some Cayenne versions, and this is really a large, heavy, high-sitting SUV which is still fun driving at the racetrack, and that is astonishing, and it counts both for the Q8 and also for the Porsche Cayenne. So here I think, because they're kind of similar in technology and everything, it's more a question of which engine version do you go for and where is the exact offer. Of course, also if you think about used vehicle prices, the Porsche Cayenne will in most cases be more expensive. So here I think it's more a batch thing, so more sense in a way of saving money. It's then more about getting the Audi. Then again, you can argue about resale value maybe here and there. Yeah, but at the end of the day, probably the Audi will be less expensive. But here it's more a choice of batch. And it actually gets more extreme than with the Audi Q6 e-tron and the Porsche Macan EV, because in the combustion engine versions, they were kinda different. But here in the EV version, they share so much same technology. So what I felt as a difference is that the Audi Q6 e-tron is a little bit more forgiving as for the suspension. I found the suspension setup in the Porsche Macan EV so stiff, and together also with large wheels doesn't make so much sense. So with both vehicles I would check that I don't get too big wheels, that the wheels are a little bit smaller, that you still have more dampening comfort also from the tires. That's very important here. And then overall I think that the difference between these two is also not that large, maybe even closer. So I think especially with these two, it's more again a price and batch question. because honestly, you're almost getting the same vehicle here. And overall, which one would I take home? You maybe already heard it. So on the one hand, I love the Q8 and the Cayenne for their driving behavior, because in the SUV, in the large SUV segment, they are among the best to drive. But then again, when you drive a little bit longer and also drive a little sportier, the low sitting vehicles are always a better drive nevertheless. So I would actually go for an Audi A7, get the S7, the 3-liter 6-cylinder in the S model in Northern America, or normal 3-liter 6-cylinder without the S badge. And the latter one counts for the European market because you cannot get the S7 petrol there. Get the 3-liter 6-cylinder for an Audi A7. Yeah, because the RS7 is cool in driving. Then again, it's also very expensive. Or as an alternative, the Porsche Panamera, then here with the retro fabric seats with the V6, or then the plug-in hybrid if you need it for the company taxation and so on. These would be my two favorites. If you look at the price performance winner would indeed be an Audi A7 here today, because also when you look at the used car market and so on, it will be way less expensive than the Porsche counterpart. Which one would you take home? What is your favorite? Tell me in the comments and join us for more comparison reviews.